chance.
Yeah, you're right. There's the thing. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Happy Wednesday, or if somebody's in Australia, KFC Makes Good Winglets was here and left a very cryptic message. I didn't know what it was. Now, he would be on Thursday already, I think. But
Something orange covering eyes?
Thursday, it's Friday.
What does that mean?
I'm mixed up on my days. Yeah, I don't know what he meant. Oh,
and orange covering eyes.
Am I back?
Looking good,
we call
Dick.
him KFC from this point onward.
I know, I did. I
Kentucky Fried Chicken? Yes, please.
Yeah.
You got all your lighting is set up there, Nick? You look a little bit dull.
Well, it was fine earlier, and now I've come back and I haven't touched it. It seems to be
Hi, Mazoos. Aisle boxes. Hello.
So I don't know quite why.
Why don't you try the... do you have Sonoma on your machine?
No, I don't know what Sonoma is.
That's the latest Mac operating system.
Oh, yeah, I do, yeah.
Okay. Then up in the top menu bar, you see the little camera icon.
Yeah.
And then I guess it would be under Google Chrome. And then you can click on Studio Light, see if that does anything for, kind of decrease the background lighting. Although there's something...
Something sort of playing on his neck there.
Yeah, what's going on there?
I don't know. Don't look at me.
It looks like you're near water. You know how light...
Yeah, things are moving.
I see that, but it's nothing to do with... None of my lights are fading in. Hang on a minute.
That's weird. So maybe you should...
Studio lights off. How's that?
That actually looks pretty good. That looks good.
Yeah, well, I just turned off the background lights.
It highlights the stuff on your wall, which I like too.
That's my spotlights. This is all mechanical lighting.
I like it.
Looks nice. I like it a lot.
Right. I like it better than the green screen.
I like the green screen. We've gone to all that effort to set it up.
I know you like it.
Right, well, I'm now going to turn off the studio light thingy. That's better.
But still exposing more for the background than it is for your face, your lovely, beautiful face.
Indeed. I am going to fix that.
Okay.
By going to...
Hi, Jim Fulton.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, that is... Oh, I don't know if I can fix it now because, of course, ATEM
any Windows
isn't in the loop.
Good one, Ihal.
Ah, yeah.
So this is it for today, everybody. Steph is off with, as she said, forced family time. Rick is flying, really sure exactly Camacho Man is working hard. So
working hard for a living.
Exactly. Working hard for
big money. Wheel keep on turning.
I think actually in Ozbot there's some image. Here we go. Oh, there's a beauty thing. I could go beautiful.
Good luck.
Let's have a look. Anti-flicker.
Is that using artificial intelligence?
Autofocus auto. Right. Well, let's have a look. Let's just go beauty mode. Right. Nature. Fresh.
Nothing has changed.
I don't see anything changing. Yeah.
Clear. Well, that's not very good, is it?
I don't know. Before it was better. Your face was highlighted and the background was just sort of ambient in the back, and that was better. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I don't know. I've got plenty of light on my face, and the background isn't that bright, quite honestly. But there doesn't seem to be...
Mazoots. Can't improve on perfection, Nick.
No, very true, Mazoots.
Excellent. Mazoots. Very nice.
Turn that off.
You're such a nice guy.
He's a glass half full guy.
Oh,
that looks great. That last thing you did.
Yeah, blew me away.
Is he a blue blood? Has he turned into a blue blood?
Right. Anti-flicker exposure, focus, HDR. Let's put on HDR. A little better. High dynamic range. See, it seems to like that.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, actually.
Do you approve? I don't want
I guess
global
that's
hotkeys.
Jeff's answer.
Is that right? Is that right? I'll put the man filter on. Right. Notice the difference?
No, not a thing.
No.
Thought it might highlight your beard or something.
Body shape. Oh, that's a good one. Body slim. Let's
Oh,
do
I'd like
body
that one.
slim.
Yeah, me too.
I can't
Nick,
see
can I?
any difference.
Are you signed into Unity by any chance, Nick? Are you?
No, I haven't turned it back on
Okay.
since I reset. It is flashing at me. Hang on a minute. There we go.
There he is.
I'm
Yeah.
muting and speaking to.
Okay.
Echoey is my specialty.
So,
Right,
Jeff,
I'm
did you
good.
want to check the level for Roger's intro or anything like that?
I did, Liz. I did.
All right. Oh, thank goodness. Tim Van Ram is home safely and ready for the show.
Oh,
Well, we can start then at
we
last.
can all breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
There, found exposure.
So, are you hearing that?
Yeah, it's very low to me.
I was wondering. I'm thinking, well, how come nobody is responding to the sound that I'm playing here?
I'm doing other things. It's only me, at least. Now, for some reason, I can't change exposure. Why can't I change exposure?
You're listening to the Airline
Oh,
Pilot Guy
probably
Show.
because I've got HDR selected.
Well, how about this?
That's better.
Hi, James Mack.
1,000.
How's that?
That
I would say
sounded
that's-
extremely good.
Yeah, I'd say that's good. Yeah. I don't
Okay.
know what the chat room thinks, but
Um,
Mike
Okay.
Kuipers, what are you hearing out there? Oh, now there's KFC Make Good Winglet. He's back again.
no, KFC.
We'll say KFC, yeah.
Hey, James Mack. He is one of our new coffee fund people.
Yeah,
Oh, lovely. We
New
like
producer,
that.
new executive producer, actually.
it's great to have him here.
Yeah.
Tanya says it sounds good, and Mike Kuiper says it sounds good. So we'll ignore Micah when he tells us it sounds bad.
Okay.
Poor Micah. Right, temperature.
Could we hear in the chat room? Could we hear in the chat room here, Liz?
Could we hear in the chat room?
Nah, you don't
Could
want to
we
hear that.
hear in the chat room hear Liz like in the audio podcast during the recording? Yeah, you could if I did this.
No.
I would have to put all the bleeps in all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
no.
you would
time
hear
she
stuff.
swears.
So I have Unity now set up. Let's see. So I'm talking in Unity. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yeah.
Nice echo.
I know you guys can, but I'm not sure
okay.
if people in the chat room can. Oh no, they can only hear you when you guys are talking in the Unity client.
Yeah, let's just leave Unity in the
But see,
background.
I'm not going to do that because there are things in addition to the really just things that would get us thrown off YouTube for this sort of
That
thing.
Liz will say that
yeah.
will get us thrown off.
But no, I'm just kidding. Of course,
Liz doesn't
I
have a
would never
lot
say
of
anything like that.
self-restraint, does she? No.
But yeah, no, but she'll say stuff. We'll hear her little her iPhone alarm going off, and she'll say,
Right.
half an
Yeah.
hour, an
My
hour,
dog chewing
stuff
its
like
chewy thing. Nah.
yeah. It's just there are just something like getting ice out of the ice machine
Yeah.
thing, and it's just stuff that you wouldn't really want to hear.
Just housekeeping stuff. You don't want to hear that.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, you have to listen to the actual audio podcast to get that. Okay, so going back to Evernote for the current show, do I have any video I have to play like really quickly? Looks like
yeah,
maybe
your second
the
one, B.
Okay. All right, so let me.
Which I
go
think is
ahead
going to
and,
be a very interesting discussion. A lot of people are interested in that one.
fingers crossed. We'll see. And I haven't listened to it yet, so I'll be
Oh.
listening to it for the first time. Oh no! Oh no! No.
Oh, there he is. Larger than life.
you can't get away from it. There he is.
I must say he's well lit though.
Well, yeah.
And I don't
You
mean
been
he's had a
drinking?
lot to drink. No, I didn't. Actually, James Mack is actually asking you what's your tipple this evening, Nick.
Let me have a look. Hey,
it's
Gobhoblin.
Hobgoblin. He likes his hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin IPA. What is it? 5%. There we go.
Yeah,
And
that's
I've got several
that's
more.
hardly enough to be on IPA.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
poor
Well,
old
here an
Hobgoblin.
American IPA.
If
Maybe
only
that's
they
a
knew.
British IPA. What do they know about IPAs? Oh, that's right. They're the ones that kind of invented the English style
Yes.
back in the day.
To get
for sailing
beer
out to
across
India.
to India before it went
Exactly.
off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully on the posh side of the port out and starboard home.
Yeah. What do they say? Apocryphal claim, that one?
Yeah, I know.
Is that the
but
right word?
But I like it. I
Yeah,
still like
so
it.
do I.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready.
Well, good, Liz. Good to hear.
Sarcasm.
How about
font.
you, Cap Nick? Are you ready?
No.
Okay. Good. I'm not either. I need to do things like
UH
hit the
Blackhawk
record
has a
button,
comment that you beer drinker men might like to.
like making love in a canoe.
Yes, effing close to water. Yeah, we've heard it. We've heard it all.
Oh, I didn't know
Right.
what that meant, but thank you for translating.
Your education for a mature man has been sadly lacking, Jeff.
Well, you made the mistake of, well, you mean mature in age, not in
Okay,
mental
fair
capacity.
No, we're all immature here in that way, and we like it that way.
My tipple is, well, it's gone. You know what? I should probably get some tipple.
I'm having some cranberry juice.
Well, good for you.
What-
I'm going to get some kind of a glass. No, I'm not going to use my coffee cup that still has coffee in it.
It's pretty good. It lets this thing lets me adjust the exposure of the whole picture or just my face,
Boy, that's
which
sophisticated.
is quite clever, isn't it?
It's nice, yeah.
Now I'm wondering if I need to put tracking on. Do you reckon I should get it to
No.
track me?
No, don't do track. Because
Why not?
it's irritating. It's distracting. It's
Oh, is it?
Makes me feel
Yeah.
seasick.
Oh, it's not working anyway.
good. All right.
Jim
Oh,
Fulton wants to know what's wrong with
Oh,
British
tis now.
IPAs.
No, it's supposed
they're
to be.
very
No, it's
well,
not tracking.
compared. It's compared to an American IPA. It's very thin-bodied and weak flavored and low alcohol.
Yeah. In other words, you took what was a really nice drink, an IPA,
Made
and
it an
just
alcohol bomb
added stuff to it until it tasted horrible. Is that right?
and had a high alcohol content.
It doesn't taste horrible. Okay, I am enjoying.
Why are you tracking me? Track me.
Are you drinking beer and wine, Jeff?
I'm not beer.
Oh,
there's no beer.
No,
in here.
sorry. I see it's a wine bottle. I understand.
Oh.
Oh, Costco's
Right.
finest, is it? Oh no, Troublemaker. Oh,
I did
good.
buy it
hand.
at. I did buy it at Costco, but it's not made by Costco. It's a
It looks like they're
Central
font or
Coast red
something.
wine. It is
Nice.
a wink and a nod to the early days when young Austin Hope was sent to the vineyards for breaking the rules and making mischief.
Ah,
Anyway, this is a blend of Syrah, Petit Syrah, Grenache, Zinfandel, and Mourvedre.
so they just
Mourvedre?
kept adding stuff to it until it.
No, it's called
it's a blend.
leftover. It's
I kind of
leftovers.
proved my point there.
It's the leftovers.
It's a blend. It's supposed to be like this. Like all the Bordeaux's are blends.
Yeah, let's just. Well, they're just as bad. Let's just keep adding stuff to it until.
Just keep adding stuff until it starts tasting good.
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
turn
let's
it
get
off.
going.
This stuff is, Don, it's too good, actually, which is dangerous for
really?
me. That's why they call it troublemaker.
See, they don't sell liquor in our Costco's here.
Oh, that didn't. Oh, that's interesting. Right, hang on a minute. Medium.
Neil, hello.
Narrow.
And Jeff isn't great anymore.
Anyway.
It keeps zooming out every time you hit
Reset.
whatever you're hitting.
Yeah. It took exception to that, Jeff.
Keep it right there. That's perfect.
That's great. Can you go out the window? It's dark, isn't it? You see a black square.
Right.
Just like
Okay.
the inside of his
Please.
brain.
Don't touch anything, Nick.
There's that. Oh, there we go. That's better. Oh, every time I select something, it fixes
It keeps going back to
Yeah,
whatever it
it
was
does.
before.
Headless. Hello. All right. Now you want me to turn that tracking off then? I don't know how to.
I'm going to have a lot more to drink to get through
Turn
this.
I may get on the alcohol
traffic.
very shortly.
tracking. Well, you'd think they would
And I'll
just have.
pipe Liz into this thing, and she won't even know that she's being piped.
You'd think it would just have a selection where it just said tracking on, tracking off. Whoa, steady the buffs.
Look at what Neil does for our show, Jeff.
What does he do for our show? I had to start 2 extra YouTube channels to get my name squared up. Well, whose fault is that, Neil?
Yeah, good point.
Did I tell you to do what you did? No. I suggested that it would be funny, and you thought you'd be a clown.
A smart ass. Yeah.
Do it. Yeah. That's what you get.
Right, how's that? Am I back to normal?
Whippersnappers.
You're right, James. The alcohol's at the ready.
Yes. Okay. So I need to make sure that this is recording. And I think it is. Let's see.
Sorry,
testing,
can you hear
testing,
that?
1, 2, 3.
Here?
What?
They're washing the carpets out in the hall.
Nope.
Okay.
No, not at the moment.
That's great. The great Heil PR40 is rejecting that sound.
Great. I think it's going to get louder, so let's hurry up.
Okay. Okay. I just have to make sure. What was that?
That was me drumming.
Thank you very much for that. Not.
I could do me slurping now if you like.
No, thank you.
Oh.
How are so everybody, let's see. Mike Kuiper said everything was
Yeah,
sounded
Tanya,
good, and
Mike,
Tanya did?
they all liked it.
Okay, good.
Hi,
So this is what
Hallbachers.
happens usually. And then we start the show, and then as soon as we start the show, people start complaining about the audio levels.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. We don't care. We're happy to have you in Patreon at any level, so that's great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, really. I mean, this is free. You don't have to pay a darn thing for it, but we do appreciate our patrons and our coffee fund cadre.
Indeed.
Pretty much the same thing. I did a couple of crew logs.
You did?
I meant to do a third one, and I kind of ran out of time. I barely had enough time to get everything set up for the show today. But
No,
maybe I'll
Poppy's
record a
gonna
separate
start
one
working
after
it.
we do the show today. To
Hi,
kinda
Donna Rose.
Follow up on hello? Hello? Am I
Yes.
talking? Isn't my
Hello.
microphone
Yes.
on? Oh, just
Yeah.
people keep talking over me.
I didn't say a word. There's only one other person here.
Her. I'm in the middle of saying
I'm trying
stuff, and
to-
she's
I'm-
like, "Hi, Donna Rose. Hi." You know that we're all
go.
on the same thing. We can hear what you're saying.
Oh, that's interesting. Just found a new
Okay, well,
button.
never mind. It's not really interesting anyway, apparently. So let me get back over here to Evernote. Now Liz isn't going to say anything. She's going to punish me.
Yeah, and it's going to be evil, cruel. You're going
I
to
know.
regret ever taking on Liz.
I know. Sorry.
Poppy. I'm trying to keep Poppy from barking at this thing out in the hall. Stop it.
That's all right. Okay. I think we should go ahead and start.
I'm ready.
Good idea.
Okay, let me just double check, make sure it's being recorded. It is. Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 594.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 16th of November, 2023.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a testy exchange between a Lufthansa pilot and ATC over an airline room.
My company forbids visual separation at night, so what is the problem here?
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, I can't have this conversation with you.
And a tug vehicle collides with a JetBlue Airbus with passengers on board. Also had more news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger. Flight 594 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. Yes, wait, not yet, not yet. Oh, shoot. Okay. Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter. Dang it. Do I have to do the whole darn thing over? Quit laughing there, Captain Nick. That's not funny. We don't hear him, which is good. Okay. Thank you, Radio Roger. He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-new station in the nation, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in New York City. Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, an almost retired pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia, and soon I'll be able to tell you which one it is. But not quite. Oh, thanks, whoever just made that correction in my script. Almost dead pilot. Thanks. It's got to be Nick. Joining me today, speaking of, from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
Former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain from Virgin Atlantic Airways. No, for Virgin Atlantic.
It's going to be a great show.
Okay. And joining me from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff. Lovely to be back on the One Foot in the Grave podcast.
It's great to have you here, but you're
By the way,
always ahead of me.
Does my little audio piece there say pull up or pull out? I can't quite make it out.
Pull up. Thank you very much.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And joining us, thankfully, from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody.
You know, for a podcast, you're having an awful lot of trouble speaking, Jeff.
No. It's getting worse as I get older. Soon I won't be able to say a thing. I just had like 2 sips of wine. That's
Jeff,
That's all it takes nowadays.
Have you seen this comment in our chat room? I'm not sure what this is all about.
There you go.
I guess we are in trouble.
I don't know.
This is from the FCC USA Federal Communications Commission. This program is specifically designed to be viewed by adults and therefore may be unsuitable for children under 17. Now, who did that?
I don't know. Is that Neil again? I don't know.
I'd
Probably.
like to know who's up to the pranks.
I'm trying to look at the little image. It looks like a policeman with wings on, like an angel.
I think it's supposed to be their shield, like their logo, I think.
Oh, right. Okay.
Well,
Anyway, it doesn't affect me because I'm not in America.
Neither am I, so you're in trouble, Jeff. Bye.
okay. This may be my last podcast, and just wanted to tell everybody how much I love you, and I hope that you'll enjoy the show when Liz and Captain Nick take over.
Bye, guys. Have a good show.
Cheers.
Stand by for news.
All righty. We're going to start off with this from the FAA, the government, FAA.gov. The Federal Aviation Administration will establish a pilot mental health aviation rulemaking committee, ARC, to provide recommendations on breaking down the barriers that prevent pilots from reporting mental health issues to the agency. Mental health care has made great strides in recent years, and we want to make sure the FAA is considering those advances when we evaluate the health of pilots, said FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker. Pilots must report certain mental health conditions to their aviation medical examiners who are trained to determine the pilot's fitness to fly. The ARC will include medical experts in aviation and labor representatives. The FAA will finalize the charter for the rulemaking committee and appoint the panel of experts in the coming weeks. It will build on previous work the FAA has done to prioritize pilot mental health, including increasing mental health training for medical examiners, supporting industry-wide research and clinical studies on pilot mental health, hiring additional mental health professionals to expand in-house expertise, and to decrease wait times for return-to-fly decisions. Ooh, that's a good one. Completed clinical research and amended policy to decrease the frequency of cognitive testing in pilots using antidepressant medications, and increasing outreach to pilot groups to educate them on the resources available. In addition, the FAA will work with the ARC, what was that again? The Aviation Rulemaking Committee, to address open recommendations from the July 2023 DOT Office of Inspector General report on pilot mental health challenges, which found that the agency has comprehensive procedures to evaluate pilots' psychological health. And so view videos, listen to the FAA podcast about pilot mental health featuring Dr. Susan Northrup, the FAA's federal air surgeon. So that's going to be in our show notes if you want to watch those videos and listen to the FAA podcast. There's also a fact sheet on pilot mental health oversight. Is there some kind of committee to help pilots speak better? Not trip over.
Well, I think it's the same committee, quite honestly. It's all in the mind, Jeff. Huh? Okay. So what event, or all in the bottle in your case, what was the event that precipitated this, do you think?
Well, it was many events.
Anything to do with our mushroom eating jump seat pilot?
That would be one, but I'm not sure that would have precipitated, because they talked about they had some kind of a panel addressing recommendations in July of 2023. So even before the mellow mushroom dude and the guy pulling the gun, the Lieutenant Colonel Reserve. Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's see if I can find that. There we go. Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, that's good, because I thought this might be just a knee jerk and they thought they'd better do something. But if they've already had this in the works, that is brilliant, because we have certainly had enough of our listeners write in and expose the difficulties they've had with dealing with the medical professionals in this field.
I thought you were talking about the people that have written in complaining about our mental health. So I'm glad you didn't say that.
Well, they haven't got a leg to stand on.
Yeah, we just delete.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we don't want to hear from you anymore. You know what? There's some somewhat related feedback. I'm going to do an audible here and go to feedback number 5 from Paul Urachek, and I have to just figure out which one of these it was that he had a question for us, or I think it's this one. Here, let's take a listen.
Hello, this is Paul from between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Hello to Jeff, Rick, Liz, Nick, Dr. Stuff, and Macho Man. Speedpipe just loves limiting me, and this is take number 7, so I'm going to try to squeeze it in there this time. We were talking about a captain who had a gun pulled on him by his first officer.
That's what she said.
What do you do to avoid a situation like that? It is so rare that even ever happens, but you ever talk to your first officer and say, hey, did you get enough sleep? How you feeling? Do you ever use any exploratory questions just kind of nonchalantly every now and then just to make sure you feel that your first officer is safe? Is that in the procedures? Is that something that maybe should be incorporated? Just because you're not a psychiatrist, but you are ultimately responsible for the safety of the flight. What do you guys think about something like this? All right.
Okay.
He's still cut off in his prime.
Got an incoming call there, Paul. You might want to get that. So at Paul's expense, I'm going to have some fun. Let's see here.
Hello to Jeff, Rick, Liz, Macho Man. Speedpipe just loves.
It's speak pipe, not speed pipe. And then,
obviously a speed pipe as well because it goes too fast.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's referring to it as speed pipe because it's 90 seconds.
Yeah, that's right.
Wait. Yeah, and then this part, maybe you guys can tell me what he's saying here.
We were talking about a captain who had a gun pulled on him by his first officer. What do you do to avoid a situation like that? It is so rare that even ever happens, but...
Well, you have another beer, and then you say, it's so rare, does that ever happen?
That even ever
Sorry, Paul.
Perhaps he's saying, does that even ever happen? I'm sure that's speed pipe just messing about with it.
That's got to be it. That's got. Anyway, he poses a really good question. What would you say about that, Captain Nick?
Oh, yeah, you're quite right, Paul. We are not professionals, but we do have a responsibility. And I always talk to my first officers in a very casual way when we first met, because it's quite likely you've never seen this bloke before. Just ask just nice general conversational questions, just get them talking a bit, and just watch them. And it's not in a specific way to observe it, but I think you'd soon spot if they were doing something that didn't quite strike you as correct or normal or standard. So I don't think I ever remember being concerned that, perhaps someone who was obviously suffering from a bit of a cold, you sure you're fit to fly? But I wouldn't really quiz them. And I would, when I was a first officer, I would have felt quite aggrieved if my captain had pinned me to the wall and started questioning me, trying to elicit some sort of reply that might indicate my fitness to fly, because I took very seriously the requirement for me to pitch up to work fit and well and able to fly the sortie. So it was kind of a taken that you were fit, because that's first officer or not, that's your responsibility. So yeah,
that's what I was going to say as well. Anything that would be I think anything obvious you would pick up on and notice. Odd behaviors, slurred speech, the smell of alcohol, interesting or odd comments out of context, that kind of thing. That would be something that, and it's fortunately never happened to me in my coming up on 35 years in a couple of weeks of scheduled air carrier flying, and another 7 in the Air Force as well. So I've never been in this situation where I had to kind of question whether somebody was fit or not mentally. And there is something that we have to sign, and now it's completely a digital signature. They just implemented that at Acme on the 1st of November or 2nd November, like just a few days ago, that basically verifies or you attest to the fact that you are, as far as you can assess, that you are in condition to be a crew member on this flight, or in my case, be in charge, be the commander of the safe operation of the flight. And so I just have to, as Captain Nick just mentioned, I have to assume, unless there's something really obvious, that the person that I'm flying with is mentally there and physically as well. So, yeah. We don't do any kind of testing or. Although I do hand out like a 5-page test that they have to take while we're in the van from the hotel.
Just go in the corner and fill out this psychological evaluation for me.
What are those little ink spot Rorschach thing? I do that test, just for fun.
That's right. What can you see in this picture?
Anyway, but that was a good question, Paul. And when Nick said that we're not professionals, he meant to say we're not professional psychiatrists, but we are professional pilots, or he was, and
some of us were.
And I am going to be for just a little tiny bit of a time. So yeah, effectively, I'm no longer a professional pilot. Anyway, and then a lot of people would argue I never was.
Are they still paying you, Jeff?
They are.
Well, I think you still count as a professional.
That's
pilot.
right. Yeah, I get paid for my service, although I'm not providing any services.
Well, I think that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
All right. I think that it's time to move on to this next one, which Liz says is great. Let's see. And several have suggested that we cover it, including James from Kent in the UK. Is that the knight that we have amongst us? No. Is it James Mack from Kent? James Mack in our live audience. Raise your hand, your digital hand, and let us know if this is from you. All right. So this is a video that we're going to play, a VAS Aviation video. But before, I'm going to set it up a little bit with this article from 1 Mile at a Time. It's a blog. San Francisco-bound Lufthansa jet recently had to divert to Oakland due to a company policy, even though the weather was nice and all the other planes were having no issues landing in San Francisco. It is James Mack. Awesome. Okay, thanks, James, new patron. Were air traffic controller just being petty? Is Lufthansa's policy unnecessary? Or is this just the price you pay when you err on the side of extreme caution? So this incident happened on Monday, October 16, so about a month ago, exactly, and involves a Lufthansa flight 458 from Munich to San Francisco. The flight was operated by a 6-year-old Airbus A350-900 with the registration Delta Alpha India X-Ray Charlie. VAS Aviation did a great job creating a video that has both a visualization of the flight path plus the audio between the Lufthansa pilots and the air traffic controller. This incident revolves around how Lufthansa reportedly has a company policy whereby pilots can't do visual approaches at night, but rather require instrument landing system approaches. I wasn't aware of this restriction, and I'm not sure if it only applies on certain flights like long hauls or what. I assume the intent is that this is an extra operational safety layer. Why does it matter that Lufthansa doesn't allow visual approaches? Well, air traffic controllers have to space planes out a bit more for instrument approaches rather than visual approaches, especially at airports like San Francisco, where parallel landings are performed. Anyway, so he goes on. So we'll have a link to this in our show notes. But I think what we should do is listen to the live ATC audio, which is contained within the VAS Aviation video. So hopefully this works when I click on it. Oh, yay! All right, Real Aviation Communications from VAS Aviation, liveatc.net.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, depart course heading a 100, vectors visual approach runway 28 right. Lufthansa 458 Heavy, depart course heading 100, due company procedures, we are unable visual approach at that time. Does the 458 Heavy say the last part again? Lufthansa 458 Heavy, our company procedures forbid visual approaches at night, so request standard ILS. Okay, Lufthansa 458 Heavy, if that's the case, then there will be an extended delay. Just remain on the arrival. 458, if that's the case, that's the case. Lufthansa 458 Heavy, roger. Maintain, stay on the arrival, maintain 1000. Lufthansa 458 Heavy, we stay on the arrival, maintain 1000. 58 Heavy, ILS 28 less, thank you, sir. And Lufthansa 458 Heavy may be reduced to 20. Lufthansa 458 Heavy approved as requested. 458.
Okay, I'm just pausing the video here for a second. So it sounds like I didn't hear the controller state it to the Lufthansa flight, but it sounds like he was answering a radio call that said that he was going to expect the ILS to 28 left. Is that what I just heard? The Lufthansa readback?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, he agreed to an ILS. Yeah,
yeah. That's what it sounds like. But we didn't.
But I didn't hear the controller say anything.
No, that's odd. Okay, here we go. Let's continue.
Wait, Heavy, thank you, reducing.
Okay, now I'm going to pause here. Other communications have been trimmed, and all other airplanes have been removed from the radar scope to avoid clutter. This is a simulated radar scope display that we're watching on the video, and you can watch when you are looking at the show notes and you click on it. There is a 100 nautical mile stream inbound on the Diamond 5 arrival for visual 28 right. Other airplanes from the south and the west are being vectored for visual 28 left. Okay. So now we get caught up with the video.
That's a 458 Heavy, just for my planning purposes and the final controller's planning purposes, can you maintain visual separation with the aircraft at night? 458 Heavy, exactly that one is not allowed. That's a 458 Heavy, roger. Lufthansa 458 Heavy, turn right, heading 180, vector spacing. Lufthansa 458 Heavy, right turn heading 180.
Okay, the weather was nice. It's showing the METAR. And that shows a whole bunch of vectoring going on.
And Orca Lufthansa 458 Heavy, if you're not set up for base soon, we will have to declare fuel emergency, and that will really suck up your sequence.
Wow.
Okay, we got stepped on there. Scout 5534, Deuce 3210. Deuce
Get stepped on enough.
5534. Lufthansa 458 Heavy, say again.
So the 458 Heavy, we are running slowly but surely out of fuel, so we need a setup for base soon, or your sequence will be, yeah.
Okay, Lufthansa 458 Heavy, what is your divert field?
It would be Oakland.
Okay, Lufthansa 458 Heavy, you need vectors to Oakland?
No, but I just don't understand why everybody else is taken. My company forbids visual separation at night, so what is the problem here?
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, I can't have this conversation with you. You either need to divert to Oakland, or you can continue to hold. It's up to you, sir.
Okay, you promised me 10 minutes. That ran out 4 minutes ago. So how many more minutes?
Conversation is over. Lufthansa 458 Heavy, stand by.
Oh, they're talking really fast.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, what are your intentions? You want to divert? You want to continue to delay?
I recommend Lufthansa 458 Heavy. I need an estimate of track miles so I can do my calculation.
Okay, Lufthansa 458 Heavy, expect another 10 to 15 minutes delay.
458 Heavy, stand by. And Lufthansa 458 Heavy, request immediate vectors Oakland.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, understand you need vectors to Oakland.
I affirm Lufthansa 458 Heavy.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, cleared to Oakland via radar vectors. Turn right heading 300, vector 4, Oakland. Descend and maintain 1010,000.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, right turn heading 300, descend 10,000.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, information Quebec is current at Oakland, landing runway 30.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, copy.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, turn right heading 330.
Lufthansa 458, right heading 330.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, turn right heading 040, vector Oakland.
Lufthansa 458, right heading 040, vector for Oakland. Can you confirm the Oakland QNH?
Times up 458 Heavy, the Oakland altimeter is 3007.
3007, Lufthansa 458.
Times up 458 Heavy, descend and maintain 8000.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, descend and maintain 8000.
Times up 458 Heavy, descend and maintain 6000.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, descend and maintain 6000.
Times up 458 Heavy, contact approach 125.35.
Lufthansa 458 Heavy, 125.35.
No parting comments. I was kind of expecting. So they continued to Oakland, then made a position flight to San Francisco 2 hours later. Oh, okay. A lot to unpack on this one, huh?
Yeah, there is, but it's actually relatively simple, really. The first thing I'd say was the captain obviously advised them that he initially said he wasn't allowed to make visual approaches. Well, we've got a copy of the sort of company notice which related to this incident, and actually he was allowed to make visual approaches even at night, because the notice, Liz, if you could stick that up, it's one of the okay.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, Liz is going to stick it up in a second. What it says under item 4 is clearances to maintain own separation in VMC in order to avoid undue fuel penalties or delays may be accepted by the commander. So he could have accepted this approach for limited portions of the flight under the following conditions. And it says during hours of daylight, and VMC can be maintained. Well, obviously he wasn't during hours of daylight. But at the bottom it says, note, visual approaches are permitted. So I'm saying that his company appear to be banning him from maintaining his own separation in VMC during the nighttime hours. That's what he's not allowed to do, I think, anyway, for what it's worth. Having said that, he wants to do an ILS and not a visual approach in this case, and it appears to have been agreed. But this airport often puts you in a position where you might actually be flying an ILS, but you're also doing a visual acquisition of the aircraft on the parallel runway beside you, and you're making sure you don't overtake him on the approach. Usually they put the heavy aircraft in the front, and the lighter, slower aircraft is the one that has to maintain visual separation on him and ensure he doesn't overtake him on the approach. So the chances are that the 380 wouldn't have been given that restriction, but he doesn't know that for sure. Anyway, he's made this declaration at the beginning, and I probably did it a bit late to help the approach controller. I feel 11,000 feet is quite a long way into this arrival, and the pattern and the separation between all the aircraft has already been more or less established by that height, even though it seems quite high for some airfields, not so at San Fran because of the high terrain around there, and the fact that they've got a very restricted area. They can let people down, lower their altitude in the bay before turning them onto the final approach. So if you'd given the controllers more time, they might have been able to generate a couple of extra miles separation, which is probably all he needed in order to fly an instrument approach. But anyway, they're going to be reluctant to give him an instrument approach because they are so geared into everybody flying visual approaches, and often flying visual approaches and maintaining separation from an aircraft ahead or on the other runway. So that's my initial thoughts. Then we come on to the sort of, I can't do this, can you help me? And I thought for a little while the controller was just going to give him a little more breathing room in the pattern. He gave him a couple of turns, and then feed him in for his request, which would have been really nice of the controller, because after all, they're giving a service to all these aircraft, and that would be part of the service. But apparently not. Apparently he just gave him vectors around the place, and then we had the bit where we fast-tracked forward, and now it appears that the air traffic estimation of 10 minutes has turned into 14 minutes, and the captain's now looking at his gas going, oh, this is going to take a while. And they have a little bit of a contretemps about this. And he says, I'm going to need to declare a fuel emergency, which perhaps he will need to. It may not be a mayday. It may just be, I'm declaring a fuel emergency, because he might start eating into his diversion fuel. His diversion is Oakland, which isn't very far away, so he won't have a lot of diversion fuel to go to Oakland. So he's probably just getting a little bit concerned about his fuel levels. But the guy just doesn't really give him an option. He doesn't seem to be open at all to the possibility of putting him back in the pattern with enough separation to do an ILS. All he's intent now is saying, right, another 15 minutes holding, which is 3 times the length of time which apparently he originally told this captain it would extend his pattern to get his request in, or divert. So the controller really has just become absolutely intransigent. He's now saying, right, there's only 2 things you can do. You hold for another 15 minutes, and he's now well aware that the bloke is concerned about his fuel and probably hasn't got 15 minutes worth of fuel. In fact, he hasn't, because he diverts. Or you divert, which, of course, at the end of a 12-hour flight, to do a diversion into your, number one diversion, and it's one of those difficult ones, because if you have 50 miles to set up your arrival and organize everything, get your plates all sorted out, and brief the new airport, the new landing, do your fuel, landing calculations, etc., that's plenty of time. But Oakland's just across the bay. So the guy's going to have to work real hard now to get everything sorted up and get his 380, not a little airplane, on the ground safely at Oakland.
350.
Oh, was it a 350? Okay.
Yeah.
But still, reasonable size.
It's a big airplane.
Yeah. 777 airplane. The controller corners the captain really and says, right, the only thing I'm really going to accept from you is a diversion, which I think was offside. I think he should have got this guy into the pattern somehow. He had plenty of time to do it, but I think he was just struggling with the level of traffic and just didn't see a way to make it happen, or he was just being a bit vindictive. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the long flight, the 12-hour flight, but they also experienced a couple of hours of delay before the flight even started or left Munich. And so that just compounded everything. Now, if you'll put the image up, Liz, for the application of IFR 8.3.4.1, which I'm assuming this is a Lufthansa document.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay. So you said that he could have, based on number 4, clearance to maintain own separation of VMC in order to avoid undue fuel penalties or delays may be accepted by the commander for limited portions of the climb, descent, or approach under the following conditions. So they're in the approach phase. Relevant traffic can be clearly identified and kept in sight. I think that he'd be able to do that. It is assured that sufficient separation will exist at all times. Obviously, that's for safety. And then this is the one that I'm not sure that he could check off during hours of daylight.
Yeah, that's correct, Jeff. That's what I was alluding to.
I thought you were saying that he could have.
No, when he first raised the issue, what he said was, I can't make a visual approach. Right. That's not the same thing, because not every approach you'll be asked to maintain visual separation on another aircraft. That happens every now and again, which he would have had to refuse. And that might be so late in the approach that it would have made him go around. So the note says visual approaches are permitted. So he could do a visual approach. He just couldn't do it when he was required to maintain visual separation from another aircraft.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say here is, this may or may not have added to the consternation of the conversation, but on the initial check in when he said, this is the case for you. You might have to experience delay. And he goes, if that's the case, that's the case. So that may have been like, oh, okay. And then at one point, he said, that's exactly why he kind of laughed and chuckled on the radio frequency. And I'm thinking, I know that shouldn't have anything to do with this, but I'm wondering if in an interpersonal level, that kind of added to the bad service that the Lufthansa flight was receiving because of just his offhand kind of expressions and comments to the controller. I'm wondering if he hadn't said, if that's the case, or if he hadn't kind of chuckled and say, yeah, duh, like this is exactly what we're trying to say. We can't accept our own separation in these conditions. But I think he was kind of tweaking a little bit the air traffic controller, maybe unintentionally, probably unintentionally. And then the controller just basically thought, okay, well, if you want to play it like that, well, we're just going to keep on holding it until you divert to Oakland. Because as you said, Nick, I don't think he had any intention at all of ever getting him sequenced in for the ILS 228 left at San Francisco.
And if that were true, I would be appalled at the professionalism of the control. I wouldn't be impressed with what the captain said, but he has to deal with people whose English is not their first language, and they may clumsily express something that might have,
I agree with it. I agree with it. But I'm just saying that we're all humans, and maybe this human was a little bit more sensitive. I don't know. Possibly. I don't know. Regardless.
I think, definitely a possibility. Listening to it, I've only heard it twice now, once before and once just now. There was a different voice, I thought, when they got into the diversion phase from when they started their initial approach. So I think the control has changed. And I wonder what the second controller had been briefed regarding this bloke, and whether he just was giving invectives down there till further notice, or whether he just had sort of momentarily forgotten that this bloke was down there and running short of fuel. I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay, I thought you were talking about in the Lufthansa flight, voice change as well.
I heard him hand over to the first officer, and I think that was probably him going, I'm going to let you speak on the radio now because I'm so angry.
I took it as, well, that might be as well, but I took it as, okay, now we're going to our divert field, and my first officer here shouldn't have that burden, so I will fly the approach, because she was probably flying into San Francisco with him talking on the radio. So he probably said, look, I'll take care of this. You talk on the radio. I'll be the pilot flying now. You be the pilot monitoring, and I'll set up for the Oakland approach. What was the other thing I was going to say? I'm thinking to myself this whole time, okay, we have captain's emergency authority here. I mean, I'm not sure that I may not have said, I am declaring an emergency for low fuel. And that would basically give you an immediate priority to come in.
That would have trumped the controller's diversion thoughts.
Now, of course, that would mean extra paperwork. Of course, he's already, I'm sure, having to fill out extra paperwork and talk to people and explain himself for doing that diversion. So I'm thinking, you know what? That's one of these times where I think in my deck of cards, when I have that wild card, the captain's authority for the safety of the flight, I might say I'm declaring an emergency, and then I'll just deal with the aftermath of that later.
I think his initial sort of attempt to pressure the controller into giving him an approach, where he was suggesting that he might be declaring a fuel emergency, and that would mess up his pattern anyway. So why not just let him make the approach? And the controller called his bluff. And I don't think it was entirely a bluff, but it certainly he wasn't in a position right there and then to declare an emergency. He might have been in a little while. But I don't like this kind of brinkmanship, gamesmanship, whatever you want to call it. We're all part of the same industry. We're all trying to make everything happen.
We should all be on the same team here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can think of a lot of places where the controller would have probably worked really hard to fit him in and think he'd done a good job. I'm really not impressed with this guy's attitude.
No. And then I was thinking to myself, well, does this happen a lot with Lufthansa flights coming in? Maybe they're just getting fed up with having to make exceptions for them. That could be maybe, or I know the original flight, because it was delayed by a couple of hours, maybe originally they were supposed to, or they were scheduled to arrive during visual, VFR,
During
VMC,
daylight,
during daylight. I mean, whatever the definition of daylight is that they're using, and may never be a factor, or very rarely.
Yeah, certainly
be a
we
factor.
never landed at night there. We all our arrivals were in daylight, so we were never faced with this problem.
Yeah, I just think it was, honestly, it was very unprofessional of the controllers there to do this.
I don't think Lufty helped themselves either.
No.
I think if you're trying to make an approach and you want something unusual, give the controller as much time as you can, and be nice about it. Make sure you realize this is it's not your fault. It's a company procedure, and try not to inflame the situation. I don't think Lufty did a very good job of those items.
I agree. Okay. Very good. Well, our next...
It was an interesting one, though, wasn't it?
It was.
Very interesting.
Very, very interesting. And I'm sure there's probably more to it than we have access to. But this is the best we can do to analyze based on what what resources we have. Maybe in the future, something will be revealed that kind of, shifts the blame to somebody else. But anyway, I think that it sounds to me like mostly air traffic control just kind of not being very flexible, and maybe they couldn't be. But I think that we can all do better with our communications on the radio, and let's not be snarky, and try to work with each other here, because as we just mentioned, we're on the same team with the safe operation of flights and getting our passengers safely on the ground.
Indeed.
All right. This next one is from Paddle Your Own Canoe. A JetBlue plane was damaged on Monday after it collided with a pushback tractor after it left the gate at San Francisco. Oh, here we go. San Francisco again. San Francisco International Airport. They were preparing for departure to Boston. Now, I don't think air traffic control had anything to do with this one.
Are you sure that controller wasn't on board there trying to go on holiday?
It could be. Maybe he was a tug driver.
Indeed, moonlighting or something.
Photos and videos shared on social media showed how the pushback tractor became wedged underneath the left-hand engine of the Airbus A321 aircraft. Although the Federal Aviation Administration confirmed no one on the ground or on board the plane was injured. JetBlue Flight 534 left the gate around 1:40 p.m. on Monday. Okay, it's daytime, good visibility. But it didn't get very far until it collided with the pushback tractor. The exact circumstances of how the tractor came to get wedged under the engine are still being investigated. At first I'm thinking, was this just like a rogue, pushback tug, just roaming around the ramp area and just wasn't paying attention? Maybe they were looking at something on their iPhone, and they crashed into the JetBlue jet. And I'm thinking, no, I think this was actually, I could be wrong, probably the tug that was used to actually push back this JetBlue flight from this gate. And I think that again, this is all wild speculation on my part. I don't know anything otherwise. Is that they may have gotten clearance to start their taxi out to the runways, and maybe the captain assumed that after he got his salute from the tug driver, that he was indeed clear to taxi and get on his way, and maybe he didn't do that extra little peek out the left-hand side of the aircraft, although that would be very difficult in this particular jet. The A321 is kind of the wing's kind of further back than like on a 320 or a 319, but still, I think we received some feedback from somebody saying that you could actually, if you really work hard, you can see the wingtip of the left wing from the captain's seat if you really strain your neck. Perhaps he didn't clear well enough before he started the taxi. Maybe the tug driver thought that he was going to be clear, and maybe he's the one that was responsible for this and actually hit the JetBlue airplane. We don't really know. There's no, there's nothing on the Aviation Herald that I could find that had anything to do with this incident.
So
And,
we think the aircraft taxied into the tug, or the tug driver lost control of his
Well, I
tug and
don't-
drove into the airplane?
I don't know. I could see both or either. Not both, but I don't think both. Well, maybe. I guess it's possible that one was still moving and the other started to move, and they were both moving at the time. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a head
because
scratcher.
I can see, the 340 was a very long airplane, so we had no hope of seeing our engines. But anyway, we had a few incidents where captains started taxiing before the guy on the headset had cleared him to and made sure everything was around, was cleared away. Everyone got a big notice, make sure you don't do this. But in addition, the tug drivers then adopted this really nice habit. I thought it was great anyway. Of when they disconnected, they went and parked in front of the airplane. Sort of as a visual indicator is, I'm still here and everyone else is still wandering around your nose wheel, so don't move. And then as the people went clear, he would be one of the last items to move away from the aircraft to indicate that it was all safe now to go. And you couldn't miss it unless the guy was parked right under your nose. You wouldn't have so you definitely would have spotted it. So I don't know if this was something similar, but if the guy had done that, there was little chance of him getting run over, getting his tug scrunched. So I think that might have been a good thing to adopt there.
I agree with you, and I'd say 99.99999% of the time, being parked out in front of the aircraft would have alleviated any movement by the aircraft until it was clear. However, there's an airline that I know very well that had an incident a few years back at San Jose, 737. Really? And the tug driver was still there. In fact, I think the headset cord was still connected. I can't remember exactly all the details, but the captain was heads down. I guess they were reprogramming something on the FMS. Something was going on inside. And I guess he didn't realize that he didn't have his brakes set, and the aircraft just rolled right into the tug. And so it's no guarantee, even if you're parking ahead of
I shouldn't be laughing. I'm sorry. Because that can be pretty dangerous. I know.
It was something that was like, you watch the video and you go, no. And they're all like running around trying to get the captain's attention, and the airplane's just rolling very slowly. It's like it could have really been a bad incident. Fortunately, it was just a lot of damage and expense to the damage to the aircraft.
Well, I nearly had a heart attack, and that was when you park up and the jet bridge is still moving backwards to go onto your door. You park up, put the parking brake on, and then you suddenly catch the movement of the jet bridge past your window, and you go, ah!
And then you slam the brakes on.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh.
And then I'm not actually moving. It's the jet bridge that's moving. Yeah.
All right. James Mack in our live audience said, would you not show the bypass pin when all equipment is clear? Yeah, I think you're supposed to.
That's right, James.
But are you referring, James, to the incident that I just kind of talked about, or what? In this case, I think that the captain thought that the brakes were set, so he didn't, regardless of whether the pin was shown or not. The captain, instead of paying complete attention to the pushback procedure and let the first officer do all the reprogramming of the FMS and everything else, he decided that he would be heads down as well, and nobody noticed that the airplane was very, very insidiously rolling, very slowly. But in a big airplane, it doesn't take a lot of velocity to cause damage when it impacts a stationary object.
Yeah, very true.
So, if that's what you were asking about, and now in most airplanes that I've flown, except for the one that the Mad Dog and the 717, which does not have a pin with a big red tag hanging on it, and they keep the pin themselves. We actually have a cotter pin that and a like a little what would you call it? It's a lever kind of thing that. You use a cotter pin to make sure that it's in the the in-flight, not in-flight, but the non-towing position, which allows hydraulic power to go to the nose wheel steering assembly. But that is essentially the same thing as showing the pin. But as I said, our pin basically stays on the jet. So when we receive a salute from the ground crew, that indicates that they have repositioned the flyaway. Well, we use that term, flyaway. If it's not pinned and it's flying away, that means that it's in the nose wheel steering position. If it's pinned, that means that they've disconnected the hydraulic power to the nose wheel steering assembly, and they can hook up the tow bar and be safe, not worrying that hydraulic pressure is going to swing this tow bar wildly and injure people, if that makes sense. Anyway, not so sure in this case that showing the pin, I'm assuming that they probably did show the pin. They probably did get a wave off from the crew, and maybe, again, it may have been the captain's fault for not doing good clearing. It could have been the tug driver's fault for not paying attention where he was driving the tractor, the tractor trailer, the tug, the pushback tractor. I don't know. We don't know enough what happened here. So maybe if somebody out there knows, you might know somebody at JetBlue, give us a call and let us know what happened there. That'd be something we could all learn. All right. Continuing on with a preliminary report from the Aviation Herald. There is a source of this article. It was the incident that we talked about a few episodes back. The 767-300 at Beirut, Lebanon, had a very hard landing and ended up crumpling the fuselage a little bit. Looks like they have, as I mentioned, Lebanon's Ministry of Public Transport and Works released their preliminary report on September 18. No, that was when the incident occurred. I guess they I don't know when they released. Oh, November 8, right there. Just open your eyes, Jeff. Just look at it. November 8, 2023 is when they released their preliminary report. And let's see, the cockpit. This is what they said.
Sorry, Liz just said, open your eyes, there's a tug coming.
Shut up, Liz. 3 people were, and I meant that in the nicest way possible. 3 people were on board the aircraft: the captain, the first officer, who was the pilot flying, and an engineer who was sitting in the cockpit during landing. The cockpit voice recorder and digital flight data recorder were both retrieved and read at the BEA facility in Le Bourget, France. The quality of data was excellent. However, the CVR circuit breaker was not pulled following the hard landing. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah. The number of times this occurs and you lose this vital data, we've got to change this system. Either it happens automatically or it's in a checklist somewhere, so there's no excuse for not pulling it, or we make the CVRs record for 25 hours or something,
That would be a way to do it. But you know what? That's the cheap way to do it would be just to change your checklist and make that a checklist item for like the I guess the engine shutdown, the shutdown at the gate procedure.
Yeah.
Just make that like the last item to, pull the circuit breaker or not, depending on the situation. That just reminds you, oh yeah, we just had an incident that we probably should pull the CVR circuit breaker.
Yeah, because it immediately puts the suspicion in everyone's mind that the crew deliberately didn't pull it because they were worried about what they were talking about on the flight deck when this happened, and they don't want the evidence to be available. And that's an awful suspicion to be having over your head, particularly if you were being very honest and innocent and doing everything just right. It's a worry.
Exactly. I agree. Well, anyway, in more detail, the report states that the DFDR indicates that the aircraft was fully configured for flaps 25 landing at 1,423 feet radio altitude, and the approach was stable all the way until 20 feet. So that's good. At that altitude, the rate of descent recorded on the DFDR shows 650 feet per minute with a VREF plus 4.5 knots.
Lovely.
Almost textbook right there, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, so nothing wrong with that. Following the main gear touchdown, the acceleration recorded plus 1.352 g. That's firm. The nose gear touchdown occurred 1.5 seconds later and resulted in a recorded 1.771 g. Okay, that's pretty hard. And then the DFDR records that the nose wheel air ground switch went from ground to air to ground within 1 second, followed by a recorded acceleration of 1.908 g. Oh,
wow. I'm trying to imagine what happened to it that managed to get into the air for a second and then managed to generate enough downforce to get it nearly 2G hit on the second go. Wow.
Well, maybe the next paragraph will help maybe give us an idea. In parallel, the DFDR shows the elevator input increased from plus 5.8 degrees to 11.1 degrees within 1 second, to minus 18 degrees, followed by minus 20. Now, let me tell you, folks, anything even close to zero is going to be a nose down. Because that plus 5.8 was probably the amount of deflection necessary to keep the pitch at for the flare, and then going to minus 18 followed by minus 20.6. I mean that's extreme. So this is the interesting thing, I think. During the interview with the flight crew, the captain, who was the pilot monitoring, recalled that the aircraft lurched up and the nose wheel then slammed back down onto the runway, describing it as horrendous, and that his headset and prescription glasses flew from his head. Now
oh my God,
that's pretty violent. The first officer, the pilot flying, recalled that, quote, the aircraft pitched up violently, describing the column as acting aggressively, and further stated that the whole episode happened too fast, and he was unable to take...
The flight control acted aggressively.
I know.
The flight control column, the joystick and yoke.
The one that he's supposed to be activating himself to control the airplane.
How does it act aggressively? Now, I'm not a huge amount of experience with these yokes. Can they do this? Can they get angry?
Well, I've never had one act aggressively toward me. I have acted aggressively on it at times, but
give it a good slapping.
I've never had it, return that to me. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the words that he's using to describe.
Very odd description.
But it was almost as if this. Oh, iHall Boxes in our live audience has a question. Did the spoilers come out the first time?
Good question.
I don't know. Everything happened so quickly, though. iHall Boxes, I don't remember. I mean, the pilot involved in this incident didn't remember exactly what happened.
It all happened in very quick time, didn't it? All these events are sort of within a second of each other. I mean, I seem to remember how long it used to take me to derotate the 340. It's a bit bigger than this, but I'm thinking it used to take 5 to 10 seconds to derotate the aircraft to bring the nose wheel gently down on the ground. Mm-hmm. This guy did it within 1.5 seconds, and I'm going, wow, that's fast.
Now, you'll remember that we talked about this a few episodes back, and actually Miami Rick, we did a separate little recording session. We addressed this specifically, and he went through in quite some detail about how it's kind of one of these tricky, what would another word be for idiosyncrasies of the 767. More so, I think, on the shorter, the 200 than the 300, but this was a 300. But still, I guess it exists. Some kind of a coupling thing, and you have to be careful.
A lot of it was to do with the deployment of the speed brakes, wasn't it?
Yes. I think so. That has a lot to do with it. Yeah. So you might want to go back and listen to that. And if I remember I probably won't remember to do this, but
because I gather it was quite easy to upset a first officer's landing when the captain gave him the spoilers too early.
Right. In this case, I think they're auto spoilers. So
right. Okay.
And in fact, that's something that we talked about with Rick. And he said, unless the auto spoiler system was on maintenance carryover, MCO, that they probably should have been working as well. But anyway, I don't know all the details. I've not flown the 767 myself, so I'm not, I don't have the experience necessary to give a complete
No,
explanation.
I've only
of it.
just thumbed my nose at it a few times when I've.
That might be one of the problems here. Maybe this airplane was kind of upset about that and remembered you.
Yeah.
We have some humorous comments from our peanut gallery, the live audience. iHall Boxer says, the yoke beating the yoke. Oh, Y-O-K-E beating the Y-O-L-K. Okay. And then KFC says, yes, lots of egg on their faces. Those two are playing off each other, I see. Yeah. Yeah, very good. Auto spoilers, they probably deployed, this is from UH Blackhawk, if it bounces, we are taught to go around, not to salvage it. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Because from the force of the main wheel landing, you wouldn't have thought they'd have bounced. But thrunging the nose down that hard, that could just bounce the nose up, and the main gear might just leave the ground momentarily. They only left the ground for a second, though, didn't they?
Right, so a second or less, or just under a second. So very quick.
So they didn't go. It's not like they did a 20-foot leap into the air.
No. Nope. All right, so that's what we know. The latest that we have on this particular
certainly broke
incident.
it.
Yeah. What'd you say, Liz? Yeah, we'll look for the final report sometime in the future. Tanya enjoys your vocabulary, Captain Nick.
Well, it's, thank you very much.
Did she spell
Tanya.
it proper? Did she spell it right? Was
that
that the way you would spell it? Okay.
That's,
Would that be in the Oxford dictionary?
Probably the Oxford Urban Dictionary. Yes.
Urban? What is that? I don't get
the
that.
Urban. No, an Urban Dictionary.
Oh, urban. I thought you said urban.
Urban. Yes.
Urban. Gotcha. Yeah, the Urban Dictionary. I'm sure that there's probably another definition for that word in the Urban Dictionary.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Liz. So what do you suggest? Do we continue the news, or should we just go to the getting to know us? All right. Why don't we do like one or two more, and then we can move on to getting to know us, because I want to make sure we get a good amount of feedback. I want to exhaust the feedback completely, because I enjoy hearing.
Got to admit,
Liz.
1F is an interesting one, because it's a follow up from one we covered previously, and we know a bit more about it now.
Why don't we do that? Because the one that we are going to skip most likely is, I think it was a caravan, so maybe Steph might be helpful with that. And it was a crash, but we don't really have any information as to why. Watch your language, Liz. I know, that's what I mean. I mean, you don't have to be so rude. She said you can do the F and G. Okay, we'll go to G then, Liz. My goodness, you just watch your language. I know. See what I'm doing here? I'm making a play on words. Okay. All right, number F. Number F.
Very
that
good.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I think it's time for me to pour some more wine in my glass.
Yeah, I'm going to open another beer.
There we go. And watch the crystal here. Did somebody just unzip their pants? It sounded like that.
You'll never know, will you?
Well, that's where you keep the beers? That's weird.
Well,
yeah. Okay.
Well, we drink a lot of our beers warm, didn't you?
That is true. No, it's not true, actually. They don't drink
Cheers,
them
anyway.
warm. They just cheers.
Badger, badger, badger.
Ding, ding, ding.
Badger, 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 badger.
Whatever that means. Okay, let's move on then, shall we? To F and F. This is from the Aviation Herald. And we talked about this Ural A320 at Omsk. And then they did a go around. And then they tried to make it to their divert airport, not realizing that the gear was down.
Yes, I'm still trying to work out how they didn't twig that. But
seems like it'd be kind of obvious to me. But okay,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be, I'm not going to fault them. And so anyway, we have an update. So first of all, the Rosa Viazia on the 26th of September made some kind of a report. I don't know if it was a preliminary thing or whatever. But then on the 9th of November, just a little over a week ago, the Rosaviatsia canceled the report, stating that new facts have emerged. A new investigation commission was appointed to conduct the investigation into the occurrence. Russian media are reporting that while officially newly discovered facts are being cited as reason for the cancellation of the previously released report, the administration of Rosaviatsia ordered the new investigation due to the quality or lack thereof of the investigation so far. They're not happy with their investigators. And they didn't like what they put out there on that 26 September report. Yet. Very good. Yeah, so that's all we know. So what they issued on the 26th of September, apparently, I'm wondering. So this is the one where they basically said, oh yeah, not only was one of the landing gear doors open and, increasing drag, but the gear was down and not noticed by the crew. Maybe the Rosa or somebody higher up is going, no, we can't say that. We that would be,
well, yeah, in this text, they've got the story of the crew, and then they've got the story of the initial report, which actually contradict each other quite nicely.
Yes.
Because the captain said they did a go round, and it was as he raised the gear in the go round that he lost his green hydraulics. And he thought the gear had got all the way up, and just there were some doors hanging. So he thought it was a good decision to divert. And the investigators said, oh, actually, we found out that the hydraulics failed when he put the gear down. So not when he tried to raise it. So once you got the gear down, and if you lose green hydraulics, that's the one and only system that will raise it. You're stuck with the gear down now. The only other way of getting the gear down, if you lose your hydraulics before you put the gear down, you can drop it under gravity. You can just release the locks and it'll come down and bang into place. But they lost the ability to raise the gear. So when they did the go around, they were left with it all down. And I'm going, yeah, that's pretty obvious, because not only have you got 3 greens indicating that your wheels are all down, but when you pull up the systems page for the undercarriage, which actually you don't even need to pull up, it comes up automatically when you start trying to move the gear, etc. You've got a little picture that has a picture of every door and a little green triangle representing each of the wheels, and
even a Marine could understand that.
In fact, yes, even Sam Dawson could have worked that one out. I'm only joking, Sam. Only joking. I don't think Sam was a Marine, was he? He was Army?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think they're quite as smart as the Marines. The Army. No, I'm only joking, Sam. So I disagree with that. And what's more, it sounds very much like the crew were looking at their flight management computer to work out if they were going to have enough fuel to go to their diversion. Now, the flight management computer doesn't know if the gear's up or down. It was assuming that he was going to divert with the gear up, like any sensible pilot would, but he can't. So when you look down at the fuel figure that you're going to arrive at your diversion with, you need to make a mental calculation and go, I'm going to actually consume like 200% more fuel than this because my gear's down. So I've got to sort of halve that figure or double the fuel consumption to get to the right figure. I'm just plucking. It's been too long now for me to try and remember exactly what the percentage was. So if you're a current pilot and you know what it is, just remind me, but be nice about it. And it's anyway, so as they were diverting, they were obviously looking down at their fuel going, this is going much faster than the computer said it would. That's right. Which is why they plunked it down in a field. I think that is probably the obvious, for me. I don't want to jump the gun on the final report, but I hope that's what the final report does come up with. But why they think this was, a good decision, I kind of don't know. But there you go.
iHaul Boxes is making a very good point. Most flight crew members I know are very attentive when it comes to the undercarriages, even outside of the aircraft.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
So I remember when we initially covered this, we were all kind of going, huh? I mean, how did they not have enough fuel to make, there must have been more drag. And then I remember the question was like, well, I'm not really sure. It's not clear that the gear was up or the gear was down. And you remember that initial conversation we had about this. And then when we saw that September 26th report that the digital data recorder showed it down, we're thinking, aha, okay. Now I'm wondering, maybe the commander of this particular flight knows somebody up there in the regulatory agency. Say, hey, you're going to destroy my career if you say that. So can you change that, please?
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's any fraud or hanky-panky or anything, going on there. Yeah. Now, thank you, Liz, for looking up the word thrunge in the Urban
What's
Dictionary.
It say?
We're not going to read this, but we were correct in assuming that this might mean something quite not suitable for work or talking about around our children.
Yeah, be careful. That commission will be onto you again.
And I'm just kind of wondering why Captain Nick happens to know and use this word.
I was in the Air Force, that's why.
There you go.
If you'd been in the Air Force, you would have known that word.
Hey. I was in the U.S. Air Force, not the RAF.
Right.
There was nothing royal about my Air Force. All right, one last news item. Let's go to F&G. I think it's funny. Nobody else does. Preliminary report, collision at Dallas.
Oh, this is a doozy, isn't it?
Yeah, we talked about this one recently. The guy that decided to, we assumed that he did not receive a clearance for takeoff on runway 22, and he literally hit the tail of a Citation Mustang landing on a crossing runway. And let's see, where do we go here to, I tried to highlight some stuff in here, but it's a PDF, so I couldn't. So I guess I'm going to have to, so you'll recall that the crew of 269 Alpha Alpha, the Hawker, is that better? Were issued a lineup and wait on runway 22, and the Citation, the other jet involved, was coming in on runway 15 right, and we kind of noted, right. Or 13 right. You're right. No problem. That could have been an issue too if they were trying to land on 15 right.
On the grass.
I was just trying to go from memory. I missed it. So we noted that in the liveatc.net recordings that we never heard anything about a takeoff clearance nor a readback of a takeoff clearance. We heard the lineup and wait, and that's it. So let's see here. The relevant part of this preliminary report, in my mind, is that when the Hawker was perpendicular to runway 22, they were switched to the local control frequency, the tower frequency. As the airplane began the left turn to be perpendicular to the runway, they stated that their V speeds were no longer on their display screens. So we have a vertical tape, or most modern airplanes now do have a vertical tape on the left side of your primary flight display that shows your airspeed. And if you set your flight management computer up properly, it will indicate, they'll actually put little bugs or little marks, or what's another word to use instead
indicators?
Of indicators on there
Carrots,
that show the V1.
Pointers, arrows.
Yeah, something. Okay, that's good. V1, which is, decision speed, and then VR, which is rotate, and V2, which is the minimum speed if you lose an engine. And so that wasn't there. And you normally have those there. In fact, you were required to have those there. And so they noticed that they weren't there. And so, something's wrong. So at that time, the pilot of the Citation Mustang 510 Hotel Mike reported a 4-mile final. And then the controller instructed the crew 269 Alpha Alpha to line up and wait on runway 22, which they acknowledged, and we heard that. The local controller did not give a traffic advisory to 269 Alpha Alpha. Now, I'm not sure if that would have made a difference or not, but usually they will say something like, line up and wait, runway 22. Traffic is a 4-mile final, runway.
Yeah, invariably they'll do that. Yeah,
yes,
in my experience.
That may have helped, but I don't know if it would have made a difference or not. And then they just initiated their own takeoff roll, runway 22. And
I say, Fred, are we clear takeoff? Yes, certainly,
I think
George.
so, sir.
Off you go.
Yeah. And so the flight data clearance delivery controller alerted the local controller. So the guy's looking out the window, another position up there.
Yes.
The
says, guy that's doing all his paperwork for delivery spots it before the guy looking out the window does.
Yeah, he goes, hey, that guy's rolling. And the local controller stated, November 9, Alpha Alpha, stop, hold your position. And there was no response from the crew of 269 Alpha Alpha. And then the controller again stated, Alpha Alpha, hold your position, stop, to which there was no response. The flight crew from 269 Alpha Alpha stated in their post-accident interview they had a rudder bias alert and a pitch trim alert, which they had to resolve as they were in the takeoff roll.
Yeah, you know what this sort of makes me think is a possibility, Jeff, is they hadn't got any V-speeds and they hadn't set their trims correctly. Did they do any other pre-takeoff checks?
Yeah, it sounds like they were trying to make an expeditious departure from the fixed base operation.
Well, I'm just wondering either they missed a few things, which is unlikely, or they might have missed a whole checklist.
Could be.
But anyway, they had their heads in at a critical moment of their role. And
a lot of distractions. A lot of distraction. And so they just, that's right, we're clear for takeoff. We're going onto the runway. We must be clear for takeoff. And, what's this? Instead of aborting and saying, hey, let's stop this thing and figure out what's going on, they continue their takeoff. And, of course, they hit the very tail end of the citation checklist. And, UH Blackhawk says, checklist, schmecklist. Yeah, who needs that? We don't need no stinking
That's
checklist.
after thrunging in the dictionary.
Yeah. So, wow, that's interesting. And they do have in this report, they're noting that tower is equipped with an airport surface detection equipment system, Model X, ASDX system, which displays. They have displays located at the local controller, ground controller, operations supervisor, and helicopter position workstations. It's a surface movement radar that enables air traffic controllers to detect potential runway conflicts by providing detailed coverage of movement on runways and taxiways. Yeah, it's a very fast scan radar system that keeps track of everything that's happening on the ground. ASDEX collects data from a variety of sources to track vehicles and aircraft on the airport movement area and obtain identification information from aircraft transponders. The controllers noticed 269 Alpha Alpha's movement before the ASDX alert, which occurred at 15:19:49. So then they go into the damage and all that kind of stuff. And clearly, they did hit for sure. And the left wing tip.
Well, it's a good job that they hit the way they did, because the guy that just landed lost one of his stabilators and had a big hole on the back end of the airplane. So he would have been very interested if he'd tried to go flying like that. Good job he was nice and safely rolling out on the runway. The other bloke, and he, by the way, he was the one marginally in front. So it would have been the Citation, I think, went behind him. Now, the Citation, the Hawker went in front of them, and they still didn't see it. I mean, it went in front of them. They must have been 20 feet away when it went in front, such that
I don't know. I didn't know. No, the Hawker went behind the Mustang. The Hawker was the one that was taking off without clearance.
Okay. So he's the red flight, the red line. Yes.
Yes.
He's the one, call sign ends Alpha Alpha.
Yes.
Okay, I've got the two aircraft route the wrong way around.
Right.
So the Hawker, whatever happened? The guy getting airborne had the other bloke go in front of him.
Yes.
Very, very close to him, but neither of the pilots saw them. So what were they looking at?
I think they said 1 second before they noticed. Let's see. Let me find that quote.
They did see him. Okay.
1 second before they hit them.
I see. Prior to impact. Yeah.
That's why they were so. Or the captain or the pilot or whoever, the pilot flying sounded so upset on the radio frequency when asked to fly a certain heading and say, "Hey, we just had a midair," which I would argue was actually a mid-ground. But he was all pissed off because he thought that somebody made a mistake other than him.
Right.
But he was wrong about that. Yeah. So but I mean, if you see an airplane crossing in front of you, like 1 second before you hit them, there's nothing, absolutely, you're just along for the ride at that point. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know, again, maybe something, one of the brain synapses would have fired when, if the controller had said, line up and wait, traffic, landing 15 right, maybe that would have made a difference. I don't know.
Because your normal reaction then is to look for the traffic. I do. Yeah. I used to glance out, look for it, and it would be in the back of my mind then. We've got to wait for this guy to land, so no point rushing. Let's finish.
Well,
the
not only
checks
that, I mean, even if I'm told that there's traffic landing on the crossing runway, if I'm not told that, I still look at the crossing runways just to make sure that something didn't happen, that wasn't noticed.
And perhaps if these guys hadn't been distracted by their misset trims, they might have been those guys as well.
Yep.
But of course they weren't. They were distracted at an inappropriate moment during the takeoff roll.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Tough situation there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll continue to monitor that anytime we get more information, but it's certainly...
But, I mean, it's just that we have covered so many near collisions, and this one actually it's a miracle no one died, but, how long before we get a big airplane doing this?
I don't even want to think about it, Nick, but I agree with you. I'm concerned, and I am glad that I'm effectively retired now, and I'm going to... Well, of course, actually, the roads are more dangerous than flying. Oh, never mind. You should? You think we should, Liz? Okay, let's get to know us. It's the time of the show, getting to know us, where we
I think you should start first, Jeff, because you've got a nice lot to cover. I'm looking forward to this.
I do. For a change, I get to ramble on. By the way, somebody accused me of rambling. I think I'm not going to use any names, but Brett Fry, I think.
We have ramblers in this country. They're the people who walk the countryside.
Oh, really? We have ramblers in this country, but it's an old car that was made by. What was the company? AMC?
Yeah,
Did they?
We
make the
walk.
Rambler?
You guys drive. Yeah.
I wasn't a Nash Rambler. I'm not sure. Hey, staff, figure out who made the Rambler. Anyway. And of course, Ramblin' Man, why don't you settle down? L.A. ain't your kind of town. Great song, by the way. Okay, so let me start off then. Let me go here and get my cheat sheet and the getting to know us note. Okay, so of course, we were working up at our SPC choir for a very important mass on the 9th, Thursday the 9th, at our church, 25th anniversary celebration. So I did my singing thing, and so we had that big mass, and it went beautifully, I think, from where I was and from what I heard. And we had brass and very more people in the choir than we normally have. So it was a very, very cool service. And the next morning, I left relatively early, and in my post-retirement or my post-active airline pilot mode, it was early. I think it left around 7:30, something like that. Liz is showing us that it, yes, indeed, is a Nash Rambler. The company is Nash. Anyway, left for Richmond, Virginia. That was my planned stop on the way up toward Annapolis, Maryland, for the U.S. Naval Academy football game, playing the University of Alabama at Birmingham, UAB, and had a great time. Met my fellow fellow choir member, Kurt, and Cindy, his wife. And I also saw their son, who is attending the U.S. Naval Academy, Ron. And during the game, but before the game, went to a tailgate. I mentioned in my crew log about tailgating and what that's all about here in the U.S. I'm not sure if they do that in other places in the world, but it's kind of mostly a college football and professional football kind of thing that fans engage in, before the game starts. And it usually involves, cooked meats and lots of adult beverages. And so we enjoyed the game, and then I left after the game. Oh, well, the Naval Academy won, Liz. And it was funny because Kurt and Cindy said, we should invite you to every home game because you must be a good luck charm, because they were not supposed to win this game. I think they were like a 2-point underdog. And they did not come from, they were ahead the whole time, Liz. And I think
That's
the final
what she
score
said.
was something like 38 to, like, I forgot, 9 or something. I don't remember the exact score, but they trounced them. They did a really, really good job against them. And it's all because of me. No, it had nothing to do with me. And then I left there, and about a half an hour drive, headed over toward the Beltline of Washington, D.C., and stayed in a courtyard, Marriott Courtyard Hotel for the night. And then the next morning, got up, got my coffee, and headed out toward Front Royal, Virginia. And that's where the Shenandoah National Park, the Skyline Drive, starts. And I started on my way south on Skyline Drive, and in the nice windy mountain roads, which was a lot of fun, and it's beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous views. It takes you up. I think it got as high as about just shy of 4,000 feet, 3,700, I think. 3,800 was about as high as I recall seeing, as far as any signage, as far as altitude is concerned. And it's nothing like, being out in the Rockies or something like that. But my ears were popping, Liz. And so we did that, or the royal we. It was just me. And I ended up diverting off of the Skyline Drive over toward Stanton, Virginia / Swope, Virginia. A nice little bed and breakfast inn in Swope, little farm. Inn at Meadowcroft was the name of the place, and the proprietor of the inn met me there and showed me around and showed me my it was like a 1700s cabin that they renovated, moved from another location and moved to this location. And I mean, this place was everything was just perfect. It was clean. It looked like it was brand new. Now they had to completely reconstruct the old cabins there and put in new, what is it called, chinking or something like that, between the wood, the big logs and that kind of thing. So it was fascinating. I had a nice talk with Bill, the proprietor there, and then he left, and thinking to myself, I'm the only one here. I was completely alone. Not even the proprietor. He didn't stay there. And so I had the run of this inn. But you're right, Liz, I was not completely alone. There was a resident cat named Oreo. She was just wonderful. She was very happy that there was a fellow life form there, and she was purring away and forcing me to pet her. And later on, I went into town, into Stanton, to get something to eat, came back, and she was meowing away, and I opened up the window because the room was kind of hot. So I opened up the window, and it was to cool everything down. And then there was no screen on the window, and she popped in and kind of made herself comfortable in my room, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm okay with that. So she slept mostly at my feet on my bed. There were a couple of times when she made her way up a little bit further up the bed and purring away and kind of pushing against me and using her claws, which was not exactly very comfortable. Anyway, you don't want to know all about that. So I had a great night's sleep. It was, man, the thing that really impressed me the most about the place was that on the porch, I was sitting out there kind of doing some reading up on the Skyline Drive and the Blue Ridge Parkway, and it was like eerily quiet. I mean, it was like completely silent. No road noise, no noise at all. It was just beautiful. Oh, okay. UH Blackhawk in our audience says that's the area I went to, university, beautiful part of the country. It is. It's absolutely beautiful. So the next day I ended up heading back. I thought I was going to hit the Skyline Drive again, but I guess there was like a little section of it, the southernmost section of the Skyline Drive that I didn't see, and it would have been backtracking for me to go back up the place that I left it. So I started at the north end of the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is basically a continuation of that road along the ridge line of this mountain ridge. And so did the Blue Ridge Parkway for a while and ended up in Roanoke, Virginia, at the Black Lantern Inn, which was right in just a little bit to the south of the downtown area. Really, really nice facility as well. The proprietors, Chris and Jane, were just lovely. They invited me in and, showed me around, and they said, well, that you basically picked this room here, which has a queen size. I mean, I just picked the smallest room because it's just me. I don't need a lot of room. But because you're the only one here, again, I'm the only one in the inn, we're going to give you the big suite. There was room at the inn, Liz, and I got this fancy, double level suite with a huge king size bed and everything else. It's beautiful, beautiful place. Had a great time there as well. A little bit noisier than the inn at Meadowcroft in Swope, but because a lot of road noise where they were in town and that kind of thing. Had a great meal there as well, and so it was a really nice experience there as well. Next morning I and I thought, okay, what am I going to do now? I hadn't really planned for anything after Roanoke, so I decided that it might be time now for me to kind of not do the Blue Ridge Parkway anymore and head down like normal interstate system to Asheville. And so that's what I did. And I was listening to a podcast or some YouTube live thing, not thinking about what I don't know how I missed my navigation system telling me that I was supposed to take a certain exit, but I missed it completely. And I at a certain point, I'm thinking, feels like I'm going north. Where am I going? I look at the map and I went, oh, sure enough, like 18 miles ago, I was supposed to take an exit. And I went, how did I miss that?
Nice one, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. And so I'm thinking, well, I'm not in any hurry. I don't have any schedule except to, this today to record. And so I was just about to hit the next exit and get off there and then turn around and head back the other direction when all of a sudden, and I come No, I didn't. This is before before that. Okay. Liz is thinking I have things out of order, but I don't. No, I've left Roanoke. I have not made it to Asheville yet. And so I'm going up, of course, the wrong direction. And I'm thinking, okay, it just says like less than 2 miles to the next exit that I'm going to use to turn everything around. And all of a sudden, this kind of climbing hidden curve, like you just can't see much ahead of you. And you're not expecting that at a certain point as you make this curve that everybody in front of you has stopped completely. No, Liz, it happened to me the day I left.
You two are like a married couple.
Nope. Is it? Oh. No, I was on I-40. Okay. She's still objecting to him. I object. Hang on. Let me think
Carry
about
on,
this.
old chap.
Let me have some more wine. Let me dull my senses a little bit more. No, that was.
She's got you thinking now, isn't she?
Oh, you know what?
Right, I'd start at the beginning and do it again, Jeff.
No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave this all in because that's the new me. All the warts and everything else. Liz is absolutely correct. That was after Asheville. Huh. Okay, so wait. How do we make the noise like everything is going in reverse? So I went to Roanoke. I left Roanoke and headed to, what did I do after Roanoke? Did I do the Blue Ridge Parkway? Yeah. Yes. I should let Liz bring Liz back. Here. Liz is back here. Hey, Liz.
Yes. Please set us straight, Liz.
Would you please tell everybody what happened? Nope, she's not playing. We don't hear you. You're still muted.
Okay, so this is what you told me, is that on the last show you mentioned you might go to Asheville the next night. And Thomas Witherspoon, who I believe has sent us some feedback in the past and lives in the Asheville area, reached out to you and said, Jeff. And then what did he say to you, Jeff?
He said, Liz, thank you so much. So if you're going to be in Asheville, I live just to the west. Thank you so much. You see how important Liz is in my life. She keeps me straight, keeps me out of trouble most of the time. So he said, if you're going to be in Asheville, I live just west of Asheville in a place called Swannanoa. And it is between, I think, Black Mountain and Asheville. And my wife and I have an Airbnb, and it's there for you if you'd like to use it. And I went, oh, wow, that's very generous of you. I mean, I hadn't even thought that. I just figured I would be staying in a hotel somewhere in the Asheville area. And I thought, okay, well, I think I'll take you up on that. So I ended up going through Asheville and then heading out a little bit west of there and to Swannanoa, and went up this very windy, beautiful, windy road all the way up to their property. And they have 10 acres there. They have their house that they just finished not long ago, a little bit higher up on the property. And I guess the property came with this 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 5-bed home that they completely redid, renovated, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Great place for family. By the way, if you're listening and you want to have a vacation and for a big group of people, their place in Swannanoa called Dancing Leaf Ridge is available on Airbnb. It's just gorgeous. And so I pulled into there, and he had left me some beer in the refrigerator, some nice IPA from Green Man, one of the local breweries there in Asheville. And I was enjoying that. And then he came down, and I got to meet Thomas in person. And he's, I think, going back as far as 2017, 2018, he's sent feedback several times. Nick, you have actually interacted with Thomas Witherspoon. He is the one that does the blog, the ham radio blog called the S.W. Elling Post. And he's also a participant, a host on a podcast, I think QR Peers or something. I'm not sure about that.
That sounds excellent. I probably have.
And because he knows that you're into ham radio stuff. Yeah. And so he's very heavily into it as well. And he's got a very popular blog and podcast out there that it's probably a bigger deal than the Airline Pilot Guy show here in the aviation world. And so anyway, he drove down, we met in person, and he said, if you want to have dinner. We can go and get some barbecue because I understand you love barbecue, and we have a really good place called Okie Dokies here in Swananoa. And I went, oh, it sounds good to me. So he said, I'll come down. We can drive down and talk, and we'll pick up some barbecue, bring it back up to my place, and have dinner with. You can meet my wife and my two kids. His wife is Heather, and his two children, Sylvie, and there's twins, Sylvie and Neva, and we'll eat up there and enjoy the evening. And that's what we did, except that we didn't get barbecue because it was closed on Monday. So we ended up getting some Mexican food, which was pretty good. Yesterday was Tuesday. It was closed on Tuesday. Well, yesterday is when I came home, and I was coming in on Monday night, I think. I think I got that right. Yeah? No? I'm wrong about that too. This whole retirement thing is really confusing to me. I don't even know what day is what anymore.
You're going to have to start to keep a diary, Jeff.
I think I have to stop drinking because I can't think straight anymore. I don't know. Where am I now, Liz?
I don't know. I can't see. Someone's turned the lights out.
The lights have gone out of my brain is what's happening here. Anyway, she is right. They're closed on Tuesday. I could have sworn he said it was Monday, but you're right. It was Tuesday. Today's Thursday, by the way. Again, I should probably let Liz just tell everybody what I did because she knows it better than I do. So we had a wonderful dinner, wonderful conversation. And he had said, why don't you stay, another night or two? And, you could do I said, well, I could do the show from here, except the internet right there is not really great in the house. And I thought, well, maybe Starlink might work out well enough that we can use that. And so got that all. I had momentarily paused my subscription to Starlink because it wasn't really needed. I didn't really need to have it. And I got the mobile subscription. And so I had to reactivate that. It was kind of a hassle to get all that going. And I did a test, and it was better than the internet in the house, but it wasn't good enough to do the show, sadly. It wasn't APG quality. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder what that actually means now, Liz. Thanks.
50%.
Yeah, 50%. There you go. And I think 50% of my story so far has been correct. Yeah.
100% amusing.
Leave me alone. There we go. There's a 50% guarantee. So sadly, I had to depart. When did I depart? Was that yesterday, Liz? On Wednesday? And then you're not going to believe what happened. I know. I see them. I see them there. She sent me the pictures that have the timestamp on it. Yeah, you're right. Oh, in case, no, I don't want to show them. It's just a picture of a 18-wheeler that had crashed into the rock wall and completely. So I was telling you, I was a day ahead of myself there. So I left Asheville. I was on Interstate 40 listening to something, and I was distracted. I missed my exit, and then I come just racing around this corner. And all of a sudden, everything has stopped. I went, oh, I'm so lucky that I didn't hit anybody ahead of me. And then I'm looking in my rearview mirror thinking, okay, this is a blind corner, and I'm going to get nailed by somebody. And fortunately, the lady in her SUV behind me saw me and applied her brakes soon enough and kind of swerved. I kind of thought, where do I put my car? And so I kind of put it in the middle so that there was some place to the left and some place to the right for somebody to go when they're like just slamming their brakes on. And she missed me. She ended up going to the left of me a little bit. And then all the people behind, including a couple of 18-wheelers, were, fortunately, it was kind of a minor miracle, I think, that nobody crashed on this blind curve in this mountain pass. And so these people are walking by, and this guy walks back and he goes, yeah, we're going to be here for a few hours. I'm like, huh? Because the 18-wheeler bed was completely blocking the two lanes of traffic, and we were kind of at a higher point where you couldn't just go across over to the other side and go the other direction. It was like a up high. It just wasn't going to work. So fortunately, it didn't take them long to get the thing cleared. I think what would you say, Liz? I was there for maybe about a half an hour, something like that. Yeah, before they finally got the thing cleared, and I got on my way, hit the exit.
Oh, just time enough to do a crew log.
Well, no, it was time enough for me to talk with Liz and communicate what was happening and take some pictures. And I was thinking this might be a good time for me to, pull out the laptop and start looking at some of do some show prep. And obviously I haven't done any of that. There wasn't enough time for that because, well, you're listening to this right now going, what the heck? Does the man ever do any show prep? Sometimes.
Yeah, that was a road crash. We're observing a train crash right now.
Yeah, this is definitely a train wreck. Anyway, so we got back on track, and I'm thinking, whatever, I don't have anywhere to be, really. And so finally made my way back to Studio 1A in Roswell. Ended up going by, I don't think I've told Liz this, but I think she knows because she could track me on the Glimpse app. But I stopped in Clayton, Georgia, where I'd lived for just under a year back in 21, 22, had lunch there. And then I drove by I didn't tell you this, Liz, I did drive by the cabin, and they've improved the parking situation there. So it's not Grev's all nice and paved and looks really nice. And then took all those mountain roads that I used to take all the time, and I was just smiling the whole time because I loved it so much because these are really super windy roads, and it's just fun. I mean, you can even do the speed limit, and it feels like you're going way too fast, like 45 miles per hour. That's the kind of windy roads they are. And I made it back, and here I am. And then home safe and sound. Now, I don't know. I probably shouldn't say much about this, but I'm in an apartment complex, and all of a sudden I started hearing screaming, and I'm thinking, what is that? And nearby, somebody was having some issues, kind of a mental breakdown, and then all of a sudden I hear all these sirens, and I see it's kind of getting dark, and I can see blue lights and red lights, and I'm thinking, what the heck? And yeah, anyway, sadly, the lady close by, was having issues, and they were there to help her, take her away, and give her some care. So anyway, one of the gentlemen I was talking with, that I met last December in a little get together here in the apartment complex, said, yeah, this morning she like in the wee hours before sunrise, she was going berserk and yelling and everything else. I'm thinking, thank goodness I wasn't here for that, because that would probably have just made me go, I don't know what I would have done. It would have scared the heck out of me to hear that in the wee hours of the morning. Anyway, so lots of excitement. Oh, what a great trip. And it was a great trip, other than the 18-wheeler crash. I assume that the driver was okay. And my neighbor hopefully is going to be okay. And so I just want to say, before we move on to anything else, Thomas Witherspoon, you are the man. What an amazing guy this guy is. And I apologize to him because he was saying, oh, yeah, I do a podcast and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, it's all going over my head. I knew that he was a listener of the show, and I knew that he was a patron, and I knew that he was somebody that has given us feedback over the years. But I just didn't put the two together until after we had our little meeting in person. And then I started looking back at some of the stuff, and I went, oh, you idiot. Yes, the S.W. Elling post, and I could see the interaction that he had with Captain Nick. And I told Thomas, I said, I was expecting somebody a lot older, like ancient, kind of like Captain Nick, that was into that kind of thing, not you,
Dastardly man,
a young person. And I said, so my bad. I'm sorry I didn't make the connection. But he was very, very great or generous and gracious about his, my mistake regarding not understanding all this stuff. But we had a great time. So thank you. Oh yeah, Kurt and Cindy, my choir mate, and his well, she's also in the choir as well. We're wonderful hosts. Thank you so much. I don't think they listen to this, and if they do, well, thank you very much. And what's wrong with you? Why are you listening to this? But thank you for the invitation to the football game. In fact, after I had left, I had a little communication with them, thanking them for that. And they said, would you be available for the game on Saturday? Because you're kind of a good luck charm, and it's our last home game, and we'd like to win it. And I went, are you serious? But I said, no, I need to be back in Roswell. So anyway, it was a great trip. Not quite a week away, but it was better than my last road trip to Tennessee. That's for sure.
Jeff, when you get your RV and start moving around the country properly, you're going to have to start another podcast just to tell of your experiences and your mighty road trips.
Sounds like a lot of work. Well,
it might be, but then again, you'll have lots of spare time.
Okay. Yeah, like you have a lot of spare time.
Okay.
Yes, well. Yeah, so speaking of spare time, did I get to everything on my list? Yeah, I did. Okay. What have you been up to, sir?
Not a lot. I had a quiet week. I went up to, you'll remember, I did mention last show that I was going up to the Hawker Association to give a talk, and that went very nicely. Had a chat to Frank, the organizer, very, very pleasant bloke, and he introduced me to their pet test pilot called Chris. He was a test pilot with Hawker, and before that he was in the Air Force. He was also, like myself, a rare breed. He was both a QFI and a QWI. So, and he then went off to Empire Test Pilot School, ETPS, became a test pilot, and then joined Hawkers and became a test pilot on the Harrier, which would have been a hell of a job considering how revolutionary that aircraft was. Anyway, he was fascinating. Lovely bloke to chat to, but sadly on these occasions, you've got to meet a lot of people and you don't get a lot of time with people, but they were two people that really stuck out. Very nice to meet them both. But more importantly, one of our listeners, who we both know, Sam Dawson, got in touch with me the day before and said, I'm coming to London on a trip. Do you think I might come out to this, listen to you talk? So the timing was perfect because he had a quick flight over. You'll hear about that in a second. He basically, he had an hour's sleep on the aircraft, and then as soon as he got to his hotel, he jumped out, went to the railway station, jumped on a train. I picked him up from the railway station in Kingston on Thames, took him to this talk, and he managed to stay awake for most of it. But afterwards, I was taking him back to the station. I managed to find a pub, and we pulled in, had a beer, and I recorded a short bit of audio, which we could now play if that's possible.
That's possible.
I'm singing!
That's not the right one.
Okay.
So what's wrong here? Why is it not letting me select your audio?
I don't know.
Okay, let me hit the X here and see if this works. Okay. Here we go.
Last time I did this, I forgot to press the record button. And I went around an entire table and got absolutely nothing at the end of it. Hello, Jeff. It's
I've
Nick
never done that.
here. And in Kingston upon Thames. And I've just finished giving a chat talk to the Hawker Association. To be a member of the Hawker Association, you have to have worked for any of the aviation manufacturing companies that started off with Sopwith Aviation, which was taken over or restarted by Hawker, and then, Hawker Siddeley, and then eventually became British Aerospace. Anyway, by the by, a bunch of fine gentlemen that I just talked to, and I looked into the audience, and all of a sudden I saw a face I recognised, and I was going, oh, where do I know that bloke from? And I suddenly realised that Sam Dawson had come all the way across from the States specially to listen to this talk, and there he was in the audience, and now we're in a pub having a lovely pint of London Pride and chewing the breeze. So I don't know if I'll get a chance to get this on the show tonight, but I'll try. Anyway, here to say hello is Sam.
Hello. Hello. What am I supposed to talk about this time?
I don't know, Sam. Well, how did the flight go?
Oh, the flight was actually excellent. The seatbelt sign was off the entire time. Smooth flight for the Atlantic. I mean, the Atlantic's not too bad. We had a jet stream behind us almost the whole way, about 160 knots on the tail. So it was a very quick flight. Would have been right at 6 hours, but of course Heathrow and the weather was like today, they slowed us down a bit. Had to do some holding, but still 6 hours and 15 minutes. When you think of what it used to take by ship, that's pretty nice.
So no turbulence, and the weather at Heathrow was okay?
Typical London day, a little rainy, a little bit of a crosswind for the landing pilot, probably about 15-knot crosswind, but nothing too bad. Supposed to be pretty gusty later today, up to about 30, 35 knots, direct crosswind, but really a nice day. I really don't mind the rainy day like this. It's really kind of a pleasant day, and it'll make it a lot easier for my sleep tonight.
Oh, it certainly will. I saw you nodding off in my talk. I thought, oh, well, there you go. Jet lag's catching up on you. But then again, I saw that most of the audience were nodding off, so they haven't been anywhere. They're just old people. Anyway, did you enjoy this afternoon?
Oh, very much so. I mean, yeah, a couple of times it was a little sleepy just because of the jet lag catching up, but really I wanted to stay awake and listen because it was a very interesting talk. I'm glad I took the time from my day to come over. It was much better than just wandering around London.
Well, that's ever so kind of you. Anyway, it's great to meet up. We're going to enjoy our beer now, Jeff. So back to you in the studio. So, actually, not back to you, Jeff, back to me. That went very nicely, and I put Sam back on the train, and he just sped off for a very well-earned rest. And then the only other thing that has happened is that I've had a couple of invitations, which is rather nice. I did speak at Brooklands Museum, you remember, the Royal Aeronautical Society, their Weybridge branch. They very nicely invited me to the 68th R.K. Pearson Memorial Lecture and Dinner. The title of which is Aviation and the Environment, Gathering Storm or Golden Opportunity by Professor Ian Pohl, OBE, FREng, FCGI, ONS, FAIAA, Fellow of the Royal Aeronautical Society. I know that one. He's a fellow. That's
what was that
good.
Again?
And he's a Professor Emeritus of Aerospace Engineering at Cranfield University, which is a very prestigious aviation university in the UK. So I'm really looking forward to that and having a meal with these fine folk. In addition, I've had an invitation from one of our listeners, Hosea. I'm not quite sure how he pronounces his name, but he's invited me to speak at the Institute of Nuclear Medicine at the University College London Hospital, their Christmas dinner. So I'm on the 1st of December heading up there. He's a listener, which is going to be fantastic. It'd be lovely to meet him. But I don't think it's going to be open to anyone else because it's, they're a big company. And so it's just for them. But I'm really rather looking forward to this. He's asked me to speak on threat and error management. So we know a little bit about that, don't we, Jeff? So
we do, mostly the error management.
Yes, indeed. Error management is the hard bit. The threat is the easy bit. I mean, everyone's getting threatened. Anyway, that's coming up. So that'll be the end of the month. So that'll be fun. And really, honestly, that's about it for my week. And we just need perhaps to mention the cover art.
Well, before we do, can you tell me exactly what OBE, FRE, NGFCG,
OBE is
FRAE.
Officer of the British Empire.
Ooh.
And I told you what FRAES was. That's Fellow of the Royal Aeronautical Society.
Yeah.
Well, the other ones I'm not
it looks
sure.
Like really, really good, though. The good stuff.
FCGI, now that, CGI is that artificial computer generated.
Effing CGI.
Yeah, so I don't know. Perhaps he's a fellow of that as well.
Oh, fellow.
And Eng is engineering. I know that. So FR, Fellow of the Royal Engineering Society or something. I don't know. So anyway, he's a very clever chap. So I'm looking forward to the talk more so perhaps to the rubber chicken. We'll see. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. That's good coming up. And I'm busily trying to work out what to say to the Institute of Nuclear Medicine. Do you think they're going to nuke me?
What?
That was what I'm speaking to on the Institute of Nuclear Medicine at the university. They're actually the company makes the drugs that they treat cancer with. So that's their big thing,
So are you an oncologist or something on the side that you didn't tell us about?
No, has he just said that. Threat and error management is a big part of our industry. So, we'd like to, and we'd like a light-hearted talk that might mention something about TEM.
Yeah,
so,
that's as we've talked about over time here on the show, that a lot of these professions have kind of taken a lot from and adopted a lot of our we used to call it crew resource or cockpit resource management, but
it changed as they realized that the crews were getting pretty small. Sorry, the cockpit was getting pretty small, the crew was getting pretty big.
Yes.
So it's morphed.
That makes sense. Oh, that's awesome. You're going to be a great speaker for that.
Well, I'll wait and see. I'll see.
Well, we're going to say you are anyway.
Cover art, right.
Cover art.
Squirrel. We were talking about Britain's first astronaut, and none of us knew who it was. So I assumed it was the squirrel that I shot into the air off one of our fireworks, because it was also nearly November the 5th. Remember, 5th of November, when Guy Fawkes tried to blow up Parliament, and we celebrate that with lots of fireworks.
Very impressive.
So, my aim was to illustrate Britain's first astronaut as a squirrel on a rocket. So that's what you got.
Gotcha.
Now, did you? I don't know. I can still see it. If you look up in
because you're the one that put it in there. I mean, you can see it.
A third of the way along on the top is a 5 on its side-ish. Okay. And then underneath, in stars, underneath the squirrel, in stars is a 9, and its tail goes into that left-hand firework. And then the 3 is really easy. It's sort of from the squirrel's nose all the way down to the word first astronaut. So that's where the 3 is.
That's it. It's the 593 constellation.
That's indeed, yes. That's a famous one, yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So that was that.
Very nice.
I'm hoping for a better... something to illustrate this, although I quite enjoyed that. Some of these programs are just rubbish at producing, something as simple as a squirrel. So some of them are good, some of them are rubbish. I've had a lot of fun with that one, though.
Yeah, it looks great, as always. Wonderful artwork. It is coffee fun time.
Oh, that means I can go and have a pee. Thanks.
Okay, go pee. And Jeff Smith and I will sing about coffee.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. Well, Liz too. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the jolly and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh yeah, the Coffee Fund. It's the time of the show where we kind of thank these wonderful people that decide to support us financially. Now, you can do that too if you want, if you have the resources to do so. If you're somebody who needs to have their money to eat and put clothing on their bodies and food on their table and roof over their head, and what was the other thing, Liz? Learn how to fly. Yeah, flying lessons. That's the most important of all those things I just mentioned. Anyway, don't do it. Yeah, it's a free show. We do it because we love you. But if you love us and have the financial resources to show us that, please check out the Coffee Fund. And since the last show, we have had just one person use the Coffee Fund Classic method, a very, very nice, generous contribution from Christian Harry. And let me read. He did send us a note along with his Coffee Fund contribution. Thanks for the great work, especially Captain Jeff. Yes, I love this guy. Been listening for years since before I got into aviation, and just started with Acme earlier this year. Yay! Long overdue for a Coffee Fund contribution. Hey, thanks. Appreciate that, Christian. And congrats on getting on with Acme, the best airline in the world. And sorry, if you're somebody who's not with Acme, you know. I mean, if you know, you know. Anyway, another thing that you can do, or a way to become a financial supporter of our show, is something that we like to call, we have nothing to do with it, Patreon. Patreon.com/airlinepilotguy. You can pledge a certain amount per episode if you'd like. And we have a couple different tier levels, but it doesn't matter. Give whatever you want. And we have a new executive producer, James Mack, who happens to be with us in our live recording today, in our live audience. Yay. Thank you, James. Executive producer. So happy that you joined us. And so if you want to join these fine people like James and like Christian, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did, and we will too. Okay. So producer is telling us that we're going to go directly to the plain tale before we tackle some feedback. And it's a great one. So here we go. Without further ado, let's hear what the old pilot has for us this week on the plain tale. Take it away.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales. The consequence of a deliberate act. It's September 1987, and NATO were involved in a massive military exercise in the Mediterranean, off the coast of Sardinia, called Display Determination 87. More than 40 ships from 4 countries took part, which, apart from other objectives, tested the ability of NATO forces with mechanized attacks on the rolling hills of Capo Teulada. In one of the task forces taking part in the exercise was the USS Saratoga, a Forrestal-class supercarrier commissioned in 1956, and the second to be named after the Battle of Saratoga, part of the American War of Independence. From her early days, the Saratoga had formed part of the US presence in the Mediterranean Sea, and she toured there frequently. In June 1987, she was on her 19th deployment to the area when she took part in Display Determination 87. Within the exercise, there were many tactical scenarios being played out in addition to the amphibious landings, one of which was a simulated attack on the Saratoga's task force by a pair of F-16s. 2 of the Saratoga's F-14 Tomcats were tasked to defend the carrier against this attack. The leader of this small formation included a senior pilot and skipper of a newly arrived junior grade lieutenant, Timothy Dorsey. Dorsey had just joined his unit, the VF-74, a fighter squadron known as the Bedevilers. Apparently, it didn't take the young Dorsey long to commit his first faux pas by announcing to the senior aviator that his call sign would be Smoke. "No, it's not," was the firm reply. Naval nicknames that became personal call signs are never chosen by the owner of such a moniker, but gifted to them by their colleagues, usually after some embarrassing blunder to remind them of their transgression. The Saratoga left port to start its participation in exercise display determination, and on the 22nd of September 1987 things were well underway. On that day, a pair of USAF F-16s were expected to run an attack on the Naval Task Force with the aim of finding the aircraft carrier and running a mock attack on the vessel. The pair of F-14s had been briefed to launch with the aim of opposing this attack. In the number 2 aircraft was the newly arrived Lieutenant Junior Grade, Timothy Dorsey, with a senior radar intercept officer, Rio, Lieutenant Commander Edmund Dutch Holland, in the back to keep an eye on him. Leading the pair was a senior pilot, with Dorsey's skipper in the back seat. During the startup, the lead aircraft developed a technical fault that prevented him from flying, so Dorsey was dispatched to fly the mission alone. He duly completed his preparation and taxied his aircraft towards the catapult to launch. As he waited for the aircraft ahead to depart, he was told to go purple, to switch to the encrypted frequency, whereupon he was informed of a change to their mission and was given a different vector to depart on. When the time came, Dorsey and Holland hooked up to the catapult shoe, the JBD jet blast deflectors were raised, and they were fired from the deck. They launched with a fully armed aircraft, the reason for which is a little unclear, except to say that the area of the Mediterranean had a number of countries that were far from friendly to the United States, and it would not have been unusual to arm a proportion of their aircraft. In the aftermath of this story, the Navy would officially state that, depending on the exercise and nature of it, they may or may not use live weapons. As they climbed away from the carrier, the F-14 crew headed north to intercept an exercise attacker that had been detected. The aircraft in question was the United States Air Force RF-4 Phantom, call sign of Vodka 5-1, that had launched from the Italian air base at Aviano. Aboard were Captain Mike Ross, and behind him the Weapons Systems Officer, WSO, First Lieutenant Mike Sprouse. They went feet wet as they crossed the West Italian coast and set off across the Tyrrhenian Sea, looking for the KC-135 tanker that they were to rendezvous with. Once they'd located it, they slipped in behind and began to top up their tanks. It was while they were in contact that Mike Sprouse looked over his shoulder and noticed an F-14 sitting a little way off their wing. It was Dorsey, and he had already found his target. Having topped up, the RF-4 turned away from the tanker and started to search for the ship, noting while they did that the Tomcat had not stayed to refuel but was following them. On that day, the F-4's tactical electronic reconnaissance (TEREC) equipment that provided precision direction finding, passive ranging, and emitter threat identification wasn't cooperating. But then they noticed that the TACAN, the Tactical Air Navigation Beacon on board the Saratoga, was up and transmitting on the same channel that it had been 3 days earlier. With a solid lock on the carrier's position, they started to descend on their simulated attack run. All the while, Dorsey had been trailing the Phantom for some 15 minutes now. He had been fortunate to have found the F-4 so early, and would probably be getting an attaboy for engaging it at the beginning of its attack run. Since he was visual, and his target was only a mile or two away, he tried to lock the Tomcat's radar to it using the PLM pilot lock mode, but the radar wouldn't hold lock as the RF-4 had a jamming pod on board and was also dropping chaff. Since his radar wouldn't track, Dorsey decided to lock his target up with an AIM-9 Sidewinder missile, the seeker head of which was quite capable of following the target. Now in a position to take down the Phantom, Dorsey asked for instructions, and the reply from his controller was "red and free," indicating that he was clear to engage. Probably everyone in the entire exercise, except perhaps Dorsey, would realize that this command required a simulated attack on the friendly USAF aircraft that Dorsey had in his sights. But the F-14 pilot had completely misunderstood the command. He asked his Rio, "Does that mean they want me to shoot this guy?" His backseater replies, "Yeah, shoot," and clearly calls to the strike controller that they are firing a simulated Fox 2, code for a heat-seeking missile. Dorsey armed his weapons and squeezed the trigger. There was still a moment when this situation could have been salvaged, because the selected weapon failed to fire. "It didn't go," exclaimed Dorsey. Whilst he was rejecting the useless missile and selecting an alternative one, the controller on the radio interrupts them by questioning their status. Before his Rio in the back can process what Dorsey is doing or get a word in to question his statement, the pilot pulls the trigger a second time, and this time he is rewarded by a roar as the Sidewinder leaps off the rail. Dorsey watches the winder dip low and run inside the turn, and then he saw it hit around the stabilator on the port side, followed by a big fireball. The exploding warhead had blown the tail off the Phantom completely, and in an uncontrollable descent of -2.5 G, the RF-4 accelerates to over 550 knots before the unfortunate, but so far uninjured, crew can eject. The Phantom pilot shouts that they have firelights on and that they should get out. "I'm gone," replies his backseater. As they punch out of the stricken aircraft, the G-forces prevented them from adopting a good posture, and as a result the pilot, Captain Ross, suffered leg, shoulder and long-term back injuries. In the F-14, the Rio, Dutch Holland, saw the burning remains of the Phantom and asked incredulously, "You shot him down?" After which he puts out a mayday call, stating that they had splashed the Fox 4. It would appear that Dorsey's choice of Smoke as his personal call sign had been a good one after all. As the Tomcat circled over the downed Phantom crew, they watched the burning wreckage slip beneath the surface. The realization of what he had just done must have finally come home to Dorsey, who said, "I'm sorry, I guess I kinda screwed this up." Even though they were only 5 miles from the Saratoga, it took half an hour for a helicopter to find and rescue Ross and Sprouse, but when located they were brought aboard. By then the F-14 had landed back on, and the crew were staring at the empty Sidewinder station and the black scorch marks the missile firing had left. The Saratoga's captain met the Air Force crew and told them the truth. "We shot you down," Captain Frost said. "We really shot you down, and we're really sorry." "You're kidding, right?" Sprouse asked. "No, we shot you down." "Now, seriously, you're kidding, right?" Sprouse asked again. "In this case, I wish I was," Frost said. Geez, guys, I thought we were on the same side, Sprouse said. Well, we normally are, Frost said. Today it didn't work out like that. Sprouse, the Phantom Wizzo, was furious and had to be held back to prevent him from going looking for the pilot that shot him down. In the aftermath, the Navy convened a FNAB, a Field Naval Aviators Evaluation Board, to examine the circumstances that led Dorsey to engage a United States Air Force aircraft with live missiles. Dorsey's defense, which was partly accepted by the board, was that during his training on a simulator assessment, it failed a trip for lack of decisiveness by not responding promptly to a read and free instruction. He was apparently informed that this command meant that he should engage with live weapons. He also indicated confusion over his change of orders prior to launching, which led him to believe that he was no longer part of the exercise, but on a live mission. In addition, in the back of his mind was the information that he'd picked up that rogue actors might be trying to hijack military aircraft to use against US forces. Whilst the board accepted some of these points, they failed to accept that, having watched the RF-4 refuel from a USAF KC-135 tanker before heading towards the carrier, it was possible that Dorsey could have reasonably mistaken this aircraft for anything other than a genuine Air Force fighter. The final decision of the board was that Dorsey could continue to wear his Navy wings, but would be permanently grounded, never to pilot a Navy aircraft again. Subsequent endorsements of these findings by senior Navy commanders were more scathing of Dorsey's actions. The battle group commander wrote that the destruction of United States Air Force RF-4C was not the result of an accident, but the consequence of a deliberate act. Dorsey's subsequent reaction to the radio command demonstrated an absolute disregard of the known facts and circumstances. He failed to utilize the decision-making process taught in replacement training and reacted in a purely mechanical manner. The performance of Lieutenant Timothy W. Dorsey on September the 22nd, 1987, raises substantial doubt as to his capacity for good sound judgment. In another opinion, the commander of the Sixth Fleet stated, "We necessarily rely on the self-discipline and judgment of pilots to prevent such incidents. We have no other choice. Nothing, in my opinion, can mitigate Lieutenant Dorsey's basic error in judgment." With such damning verdicts on Lieutenant Dorsey's character and ability, one might well think that he would leave the Navy and slip quietly into anonymity. At least that's what the RF-4 pilot, Captain Ross, the victim of this affair, assumed. The injuries he suffered during his ejection developed into a lifelong fight to overcome permanent disability. The damage caused to his spine left him in permanent pain and resulted in degeneration that more than 30 operations couldn't halt. He was forced to give up his flying career and leave the Air Force prematurely. He reached the rank of lieutenant colonel, but was medically discharged just months before he would have qualified for a full regular pension. It was in 2012 that Ross discovered that he'd been wrong about Dorsey. He hadn't disappeared into obscurity. 15 years after being forced into early retirement, he learned that Dorsey had been nominated for promotion to a 1-star rear admiral, an appointment that required congressional approval. It appeared that after leaving active duty, Dorsey had joined the Naval Reserve Intelligence Program. In his spare time, he attended law school, graduating magna cum laude from the University of Richmond. His career in intelligence flourished, and along with a blooming career as a civilian lawyer, he assumed command of the Defense Intelligence Agency headquarters and was later Navy Reserve Inspector General in Norfolk, Virginia. After all that he'd suffered, Lieutenant Colonel Ross, retired, felt indignant that Dorsey hadn't been thrown out of the Navy for his actions, and has subsequently enjoyed a fine career that was about to get even better. He wrote to his own congressman, who took Ross's complaint to the committee that reviewed these promotions. Shortly after the promotion nomination went public, Dorsey sent Ross a letter, which partly read, "I was unaware you suffered from any lingering injuries. I'm truly sorry for the incident, and even sorrier for its impact on you." Although by then Ross had forgiven Dorsey, his complaint to Congress raised the issue of Dorsey's previous record, something that was noticeably absent from his official career highlights. The Senate decided not to act on the Navy's recommendation of promoting Dorsey, and any such hopes that he might achieve the rank of Rear Admiral were dashed. He left the Navy the following year. One final twist in the story was that at the time of the incident, Lieutenant Dorsey's father was serving as the captain of the Kitty Hawk class carrier USS America, and it was rumoured that he had also been involved in a friendly fire incident during the Vietnam War. My thanks to boom operator Chris for bringing this story to my attention.
So you're saying it runs in the family?
Well, yeah, kinda. Apparently shot down his own wingman. I mean, I can't verify that, so I can't state that as a fact.
Yeah.
But, you know, the missiles sometimes go haywire. They sometimes miss their target and just grab another heat source. Or it's very easy in the heat of combat to misidentify an aircraft. But, yeah, apparently. And, of course, there was the feeling that Dorsey had been dealt with not very favourably by the board that investigated him, and some people voiced the opinion that it was because of his father's high position as the commander of another carrier. So that all that was kind of thrown in the mix, but I thought it made a fascinating story. Not one that I had ever heard of, and I always thought that the one I covered previously of our lovely Phantom pilot Roy Lawrence taking out a Jaguar in Germany. I thought that was the only one, but I have subsequently found a few more, and that was the latest.
Including the one where you shot down? Oh.
No, we keep it quiet about that, Jeff.
Yeah, my bad. I'll take that out in post.
Yeah, please. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no... yeah, I tried to shoot down the Starlifter. I missed it and hit
How do you
hit
miss
someone.
a Starlifter?
Yeah, hit someone nice instead. But no, great story. Thank you very much indeed, Boom Operator. That was brilliant.
Boom Operator.
Yeah, I know. It's a great song, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to someone else sent me a new one for next time as well.
I was a little bit distracted listening to that. I got little bits and pieces of that, but I'm thinking, how did he think that? Did he know that he was firing a live missile?
Yeah, he did. He deliberately armed his weapons and took this bloke out. So there was a bit of intelligence that had been briefed. Now,
lack thereof.
Yeah. Whether he heard it from other pilots in the ready room or some suggestion was that it was an intel briefing that they got on a TV, it was piped down a TV screen. But they were told that there had been rumors of a rogue actor that was going to try and steal a USAF aircraft and kamikaze into a carrier in a method of attacking it. And he had that in the back of his mind. He also had misinterpreted what the order red and free meant. Now, I've tried to get some information on that, but I really can't. I've not found it in any of the brevity codes. I don't know if it's just a Navy term. I'm assuming free referred to weapons free as opposed to weapons tight. The red, I'm assuming, is, that's red classifies it as a target. So when he was told that his target was red and free, he only assumed that he actually had to engage it. So he did it deliberately, thinking that this is his defense anyway, was a rogue actor. So he lived up his missiles. When the first one had a motor failure, when the first one didn't go, he rejected it, selected a second weapon, locked that weapon, and fired that, and blew the guy out the sky. And
the first one was God saying, don't do this.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And the second one is like,
I'm going to give you a chance now, son.
If you're going to disregard me,
don't
then
mess this up. I mean, the fact is that he had a lieutenant commander, a very senior pilot, Rio, in his back seat, and he didn't confirm it. He did say, they want me to shoot this guy down. Well, he didn't say for real. And the guy transmitted that they were taking a simulated Fox 2, but Dorsey had it in his head that he was supposed to actually shoot this airplane down. Partly because possibly he got this incorrect impression during training that that's what this order meant. No one has set him straight on that, and it was very early in his career, so he was pretty inexperienced. So. All the pile of that together, I think his squadron could have probably done things a bit different. The training environment could have done things a bit different to make sure that he didn't arrive on the front line with these misapprehensions, but apparently not.
Well, it was great. Thank you. A great Plaintail, Nick, and I think that UH Blackhawk in our live audience sums it up pretty well.
What is it? Yeah, screw up. Yeah, exactly. Well, he did. Yeah, and climbed the greasy pole and was doing very well as an intelligence officer.
That's why a lot of people with the intention of making careers in the military decide maybe that wasn't a great idea and I'll leave and fly airplanes for airlines instead.
Yeah. Why? Who did you shoot down?
Well, no, it wasn't me. I'd always intended to. I guess it's safe for me to say that now that I'm finished with my airline career and my Air Force career. And what was Neil saying, Liz? In only a few episodes, we'll hear all about the friendly fire incidents involving the A340-600.
Yeah, but I managed to use my chaff and flares to great result. They missed me.
By the way, the 600 episode, we're going to have a big party and we're going to announce where we're going to be holding it. And it's going to be, no, I'm just kidding. We're not doing that. No. 500 taught me that don't want to do a big thing. No, maybe the 1000th episode. If I'm still alive, maybe we'll do something special. But we're probably going to have some kind of a big meetup and retirement celebration for Captain Nick and Captain Jeff. Because Captain Nick, we never did have one for you. Well, you did kind of.
Some friends came over, and you did. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, forget it. They'll just be for me.
We don't need a big one. That's fine.
Yeah, that's not what she said. Okay, Liz is talking. Yes. Yep. Half an hour left. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay. Beautiful. I need to hit the feedback thing here, don't I? Because we haven't played that yet. So I think after that amazing Plaintail, and they're all great, we're going to go ahead and cover some feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
This in from Steve. He says, hi, APG crew and the others. Oh, wait, no, that encompasses everybody. Never mind. Fabulous show again. Keep up the good work. Some feedback for you on APG 592 regarding baggage left on a flight. Back in 1997, I was flying from Palma, Mallorca to Luton with my family. Oh, that would be Luton, London, wouldn't it? Or London.
Yeah,
Luton.
that's indeed, yes.
Yeah, with my family on board a Monarch Airlines A300 600. Our good friend Captain Al, I think that he was with Monarch.
Yeah, I nearly ended up flying those.
Yeah, that's right. You were almost with
Monarch.
Monarch.
A week away from starting the course when I joined Virgin instead.
Well, boarding and refueling were delayed due to a thunderstorm, but eventually we got underway. Back at Luton, we were waiting for our baggage on the converter, the conveyor. There was lots of baggage, but no one was claiming it.
You're actually right, Jeff. It's a converter. It turns baggage into a mashed up pile of rubbish.
Or it converts the baggage that was supposed to be there into baggage from some other flight.
Yes, that's the other thing. Yep.
So there was lots of baggage, but no one was claiming it. After quite a while, I went to look at a baggage tag and discovered that it was for the outbound flight. Oh, wow. Myself and fellow passengers unloaded the baggage and eventually our bags appeared. Oh, okay. Good. They got theirs. I assume Monarch eventually got the bags back out to Mallorca and the holidaymakers.
No, they just left them on the floor for the poor punters to come back 2 weeks later and find them.
Yeah, it's just they're trying to help the economy and Palma and Mallorca.
That's right.
And, buying new clothing.
You use a lot less fuel if you don't take the bags.
Yeah, that's true too. One question: Why in the introduction for Dr. Steph do you say backstabbing? We forget sometimes that people are new to our show, and Dr. Steph, her profession, her real job is injecting people in the spine with stuff like what is it? Cortisone,
IPA
and I don't think she in cortisone. I mean IPAs. I don't think so. What else, Liz? What she does like steroids and other kind of medications and epidurals and that kind of thing. So she
royal honey.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I wasn't looking. So here's the if you're watching the video, the old getting to know you picture that we used to display for that segment. And you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, Dr. Steph looking much, much better in my Delta cap, flight hat. And then, of course, in the very far right-hand corner is Dr. Steph with her syringe and mask. And she has this very, I don't know, kind of scary look in her eyes because she does enjoy poking people or backstabbing people. That's where we get the reference, or that's why we say backstabbing jumper.
Yeah, that's the one.
Wishing you blue skies and gentle landings. Kindest regards from Steve Simpson. Yeah, wow. That's I'm sure that this has happened many times where, luggage has been misdirected and misappropriated. But as we mentioned when we covered this incident of the whatever the airline was, it can be a kind of a serious thing when you're using your weight and balance information on a certain load, and if you don't have the correct load, then that can throw off so many things.
There's also an amazing place, I'm pretty sure it's in the States, where they get sent all the lost baggage that never actually makes it to the rightful owners, and after a few weeks they send it to this place and they auction the suitcases. So
it's my place right here. It's been in the back.
It seems sometimes the airlines make very meager efforts to find the owners of these things, and they just assume they'll claim on insurance and they send them off to this auction place, and you can get some real bargains down there if you're lucky.
I can imagine that's a huge expense for an airline to try to get passengers reunited with their luggage.
Yeah. Thank the Lord for AirTags.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Steve. Let's continue on with Paul. He's been sending us a lot of audio feedback, and we played one of his earlier when we were covering one of the news items, and I think we're going to play one more here. Let's see what Paul has to tell us about here using SpeakPipe.
Hello, Captain Jeff and the others. Steph, Rick, Nick, Liz, come.
You see what he did there? Somebody sent us some feedback that said Captain Jeff and the others.
Macho Man. How are you guys doing? Thanks for doing the show. You guys are awesome. Anyway, this is Paul.
That's enough. Thank you, Paul. He just wanted to call in.
That's about unfair.
Tell us that we're
I'm
awesome.
actually waiting to hear.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
No, I don't have any birds. Just want to put some sound effects in there just to kind of make it a little less boring feedback.
Do you remember the one where he was talking about his trip to Singapore and we heard all those birds in the background? And I just assumed it like he was in some kind of a exotic lobby hotel with exotic birds and stuff like that. No, he added that in as a special effect.
Okay. I didn't want to keep you guys in suspense. I apologize. The answer to the question about the 23 seats that they wanted 23 people to give up on my Singapore flight from San Francisco, and they gave you a bunch of money and they compensated you for hotel and meal and all that, and take the next flight. Because, as my flight attendant friend pointed out to me at the end of the flight, weight and balance cargo. Apparently there was some cargo that had to go. 5,000 pounds of cargo or so? That's a lot of cargo that had to be there. Okay. So that is the answer to the question on that one.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
Oh, my insurance agent texted me.
Now, do you really think that it was his State Farm agent?
Well, it sounded like him.
Yeah. What are you wearing, Jake, from State Farm? That's fine.
Anyway, that's the answer to that question. So I don't have anything else right now, but thanks again. You guys take care. Bye.
Now, it may not have been that they had to have that specific cargo, 5,000 pounds worth of cargo on, and the reason why I say that is because when I was brand new at Delta, my wife and I went on a little vacation, taking advantage of our flying benefits, and we flew to Germany, and then we did the Rhine River cruise, and it was a great time.
Oh, lovely.
On the way back, we ended up in Munich, and I'm thinking, okay, we flew into Frankfurt, and we thought we'd fly from Munich back to Atlanta. And so we go bebopping up to the ticket counter, and this lady, the ticket agent, was looking at us, and she almost had like this funny smirk on her face. And she said, may we help you? May I help you? And I said, yeah, we're listed for the flight back to Atlanta. And she goes, yeah, well, this was before Munich extended their runway. So they had a kind of short runway. It was late October. So the winds were kind of strong over the Atlantic, and they were load limited from that runway. So they could only take a certain number of passengers. So it had nothing to do with the cargo, actually. It had everything to do with the fact that, weight and balance for that short runway and the fuel that they had to have to make it all the way back to Atlanta from Munich. And she says, well, I'm sure that you have your supervisor, something or other. I don't know what she was saying. It was like all, foreign language to me. And some kind of a special, pass or whatever authorization. And I was just looking at her with a blank stare and probably had my mouth open and a little bit of drool coming out of the side of my mouth. And she goes, well, lucky for you, I have the authority to give you that authorization. And I'm still trying to figure out what she is talking about. She says, we're going to put you on Lufthansa, where you're going to fly on the 727 flight up from here to Frankfurt. And then you can catch one of the flights from Frankfurt back to Atlanta. And I went,
oh, what a nice agent.
Yeah, it worked out well, but I could just tell that she had done this so many times. She goes, we have been, I forgot exactly what she said, but we haven't carried non-revenue passengers for like a month. And I'm thinking, well, and this is back in the days before we had computers and you can look at the loads and all this, this information that we have now. And I had no idea what she was talking about. So I learned very quickly that weight and balance and loads and passenger loads and fuel and all that kind of stuff kind of are can be a
quick
problem.
Story from Johannesburg where we had a similar problem because the airport's 5,500 feet up and it's hot. And in the old days with the 340-300s, didn't have very powerful engines, so we were often weight limited. So we had seats on board, but we couldn't carry staff passengers. Anyway, we had one wife who my first officer was desperate to get her home, hadn't made a lot of other arrangements for her. So I said, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We will scrub a couple of 100 kgs of taxi fuel. Now, taxi fuel is, if you do that, you're effectively saying you'll get airborne 200 kgs at lower weight, which gives you 200 kgs spare, which is more than enough to fit.
I was going to say she was a big woman.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we only need 100. We only needed 100 kg because ladies, I think, used to weigh 72 kilos in those days, but with baggage.
In those days.
Anyway, that was what I did. Anyway, I said to our agent there, who was this young Aryan blonde chap, and I said, we'll scrub a couple of 100 kgs of taxi, blah, blah, this is what we'll do, and then we can get her on. And he looked at me in the eye and said, Captain, if you take 200 kgs of fuel off the airplane, I will put on 200 kgs of cargo. And I went, what?
No.
Unfortunately, I didn't have the authority to stop him from doing that.
Wow.
Because what I was doing was twisting the rules a little bit. And what he was doing was not playing the game. He was gonna, if you're gonna give me 200 kgs more, I'm not putting a passenger on, I'm putting cargo on.
So he knew what you were doing?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, man.
So I just looked at him and said, next time you want to go staff travel on one of my airplanes, you better make other arrangements. Sadly, we had to leave the lady behind. I had no alternative, but there you
what
go.
A jerk.
Not he never traveled on one of my airplanes, by the way.
Yeah. Wow. That's sad. Trying to help out, and what do you get? I don't know. I'm hoping that karma will, somehow got back to him. Bad karma. UH Blackhawk says it might be perishable cargo that must go, such as flowers or food. Yeah. I guess it could be. It could be. I mean, it may not have anything to do with what I was talking about, but
or it might have been McLaren F1 sports car that someone very rich wanted to have at their destination.
Could be. Yeah. Could be. All righty. Well, very good. Thank you for that, Paul. And let's continue on with this from Eva. Now, she was in the chat earlier, Liz is telling us. I don't know if she's still there or not, but Captain Nick and I remember Eva well. We were back in July. We got to meet Eva, and at the meetup at the RAF museum, or not at. Well, yeah, she was at the RAF museum and the Beaufort pub. Thank you, Liz. And we ended up getting a nice lift from her back to Liss as she made her way back to the coast, I believe. Right?
Yeah. It was very nice because it was a bit out of her way, and she took these two hairy old men in her car and did a great job.
Kind of dangerous,
and but very brave woman as Liz.
Very brave. So she writes in, "Hello, Captains Jeff and Nick, Nixie, Dr. Steph, the elusive Miami Rick, and wonderful Liz. It was good. She's still here. Awesome. It was a pleasure to get to meet Captains Jeff and Nick at the London meetup earlier this year. Thank you for the drink, Liz. Yeah, Liz bought a round for several people.
Yeah, that went down very well, Liz.
It did. I remember it well. It went down so well. I hope to meet you someday and return the favor. Having listened to the podcast almost daily for over a year now, oh my gosh, she must have the syndrome. I hadn't appreciated how starstruck I'd feel meeting the captains and Pilot Pip.
Oh, he's the handsome one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's the one that's the celebrity. And also how difficult it is to make conversation without sounding like a stalker, seemingly knowing so much about your day-to-day exploits. I understand that too, because I used to be, before I was a podcaster, I was a podcast listener, and I understand exactly what you're talking about. It's just like, yeah, you're a groupie and these people are celebrities and they start talking and go, oh, yeah. You told me about that, blah, blah. And they go, what? I talked about that on the show? Yeah. I met a wonderful bunch of folks that day, notably Pilot Pip, who kindly endured a barrage of questions, and Tariq, who has since become a dear friend and mentor, helping me enormously with cadet scheme applications, amongst other things. Yeah, Tarek is...
That's super.
I said Tariq. It's Tarek. I believe, right? Tarek?
Yeah, that's the way you said it before.
Oh, did I? Okay. I don't know why I thought I said Tariq. I would never have met these and other wonderful people had it not been for your show and the amazing network you bring together. So thank you very much. Well, you're welcome. I had promised to send in feedback when I met you all, although felt it a little vainglorious to just send in my news. However, I can comment on some feedback provided by Marcus in episode 592 regarding FRTOLs. What did you call that, Nick? Fartles?
Fartles, yeah.
Listening squawks and Irv Lee. I, too, did the fartle preparation course he offers and found it very informative. I'd not known he created the listening squawks, but knowing Irv, I'm not surprised. He is incredibly knowledgeable and a real asset to GA. And we're not talking about the state of Georgia in the U.S. We're talking about general aviation. I get confused by that sometimes. My little bit of news is that I recently passed my PPL skills test with none other than Irv as my examiner. Yay!
Oh, he sounds like Father Christmas, so good choice.
Absolutely. All right, let's see. He was excellent and really helped me feel at ease while putting me through the paces. So I'd wholeheartedly recommend him for anyone UK side looking for instruction, exam prep, or examination. Having done the FRTOL exam recently, I can say I found it rather fun, albeit nerve-wracking. On the day the examiner gives you a route sheet, some time to plot the route and identify the radio transmission calls you might make. They then sit in another room and act as ATC as you virtually fly the route, making the appropriate calls with a simulated emergency or urgency issue thrown in at some point too. I also have a comment regarding Nick C's question about how listening squawks compare to flight following. The area around Lee on Solent, is that how you say that?
Yep, Lee on Solent, yeah.
Okay.
Solent's a river, Lee's a village or an airfield actually.
Okay, Lee on Solent, that I fly out of can get pretty busy. So I've made use of listening squawks when available. Frequencies such as Farnborough radar to the west can get very busy with the controllers doing an incredible job of GA whack-a-mole fielding clearances, zone transit service. Yeah. So on days where the frequency is congested and I don't need a clearance or service, I stay on the frequency with the listening squawks. Like you guessed, Jeff, it means the controller knows I'm listening, so they can contact me if they need to, but there's no expectation for either side to get in contact otherwise. I think it's very smart. My understanding is that using a listening squawk isn't technically considered to be an ATC service. It's just another tool to help with the likes of infringement, avoidance, and SA. In the UK, we have basic traffic deconfliction and procedural services offered, with basic and traffic being available to VFR pilots where controller workload allows. From listening to opposing bases, I believe that flight following sits somewhere between our basic and traffic service provisions. CAP 1434 has a great interview of the services on offer for anyone wanting any further information.
Overview.
And what did I say?
Interview.
Oh yeah, well they have
but
a good
you were
overview
close.
too. I was actually what happened there is I was looking at CAP 1434 and I'm thinking CAP. What does that stand for? Civil Air Patrol here in the.
Well, I don't know, civil aviation procedures or
No, I think it's a
aeronautical
podcast.
publications.
No, it's a
Something
podcast. Somebody help out. It's a
No,
podcast.
Cat 1434 is an official document.
Oh,
It'll
it
be
is
a book.
Oh,
yeah.
it's not a podcast.
No, it's not. No.
I felt so bad because I didn't recognize whose.
No, I
initials
can't
that
remember
was.
exactly what CAP stands for, but
Well, I'm very, very glad that it's not a podcast and I haven't made a complete fool of myself. Well,
it's like,
at this,
do you
at the
call them
moment.
FARs or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's our equivalent.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. CAP 1434 has a great overview of the services on offer for anyone wanting any further information. Makes it easier for me to do some post edit. I can only speak to my experience, but in brief, there are only a handful of locations you can go to get an initial Class 1 done in the UK, which meant at the time I booked mine, 2022, the waiting time was about 6
Good
months.
Lord. Really? Wow.
Oh, you're coming in broken. Why is that? Is it
Us.
just me?
I don't know.
Ah, shoot. What's happened? So I have hardwired Ethernet that is like
Oh, yeah.
250 down.
Well, your video's gone a bit blocky.
Damn it.
But
Time
it's
for a
probably
drink.
having just a minor hiccup. Just drink your wine. In fact, open a new bottle. And by the time you pour your first glass, you'll be fine.
This is crap, I'm telling you. See, I always hear Liz just fine.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? But you're sounding okay now. Don't worry. Carry on.
You're still kind of going. Exactly. Oh. I know. People are making fun of my vocabulary and dictation and is that right? Dictation? No.
Diction.
Diction, that's it.
Yeah,
I just
that's
added a
what she
K in
said.
there.
I'll have some diction, please.
Well, I wish she'd said that. Anybody out there that? Oh, never mind. Okay, I'm sorry, Eva. I'm sorry this happened during the middle of your feedback.
Your lovely
Where did-
feedback. By the way, you missed out a sentence. You skipped. It started,
really?
I also recollect.
Where does it say I also recollect?
Underneath cap 1434.
Ah, I certainly did. So I'm going to have Captain Nick continue because I am obviously not capable
Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
of finishing
Okay.
this. Yes.
I also I can't say it now. I also recollect a question. I don't know why I deserve a bleeper for that. That was very rude.
It wasn't a
I also
bleeper. That was
recollect
just
a
a buzzer.
question.
The beeper is
Captain
this.
Nick. Oh, is that
Okay.
right?
No,
Okay.
start. Wait,
All
hang
right.
on. Shh. Okay, now go. Now you can talk.
I also recollect a question Captain Nick posed regarding what the process was for getting a medical at the moment. I can only speak to my experience, but in brief, there are only a handful of locations you can go to get an initial Class 1 done in the UK, which meant at the time I booked mine, 2022, the waiting time was about 6 months. I opted at the time to get both the EASA and the CAA Class 1 medicals done, as the school I was going to be attending at the time, sadly now closed, offered dual FATPL licenses. The AME I used made the process very streamlined and gave me the option of choosing the EASA state or country I wanted my medical processes with. They also provide recommendations if you don't have a preference. It was certainly not cheap, with the cost of the medical being simply doubled, so it cost me £1,200, that's $1,400, or nearly $1,500 depending on the exchange rate. in total simply for an extra set of paperwork to be completed and sent off. Such is aviation, I suppose. Well, you're quite right there. I have opted to get both medicals renewed, about £300, which is only £90 extra for both compared to one, whilst I work out what I'm going to do for the next stages of my training. I may have to ask the AME next week if go around a ceiling has been certified by the CAA yet. Well, I hope not, because we kind of rely on people catching that. At the rate at which I'm working my way through the back catalogue, sometimes as many as 3 in a day. Oh my Lord. Eva, what are you thinking? Means I may run out of aviation podcasts to binge on a daily basis by mid next year. And I'm already feeling the anxiety creep in. That's just one of the symptoms. I'm not sure that that's an admission to be proud of or make publicly, but there you go. Hopefully at least some of my ramblings have been vaguely interesting. Well, they certainly have. Blue skies and go around a ceiling for all. Best wishes, Eva. Well, I'm sorry you made such a meal of that, Eva, but that was great feedback. Thanks very much.
Awesome feedback. And I'm just desperately trying to find the go around a ceiling. CAP
Civil Aviation Publication is what a
Publication.
CAP stands for. There you go.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Thanks, Liz. No, it won't stand for that then.
I don't know where that is, but it'll be in the audio podcast. Man. Eva, thank you so much for sending that in, and I'm so sorry that we butchered it, or I pretty much butchered it. I didn't mean to, but apparently I've had too much troublemaker wine, and it's causing trouble.
Yes. It's good stuff, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But
works well.
Don't drink the stuff when you're doing a show. I'm still trying to scramble to find where we are in the shimmy damper. Yeah, Liz.
Yes. That would be a great name for a wine, actually.
I'm not quite that bad. Yeah, Steph still has me beat. Number 14. Thank you, Eva. Sorry about that. Anyway, it was very, very nice to meet you. And I'm glad that Tarek and Pip have been helpful for you. And I'm sorry. I see that. Eva says, not at all. I've been laughing my head off the whole time. Yeah, I'll bet you have. At our expense. I thought she was a nice person, but now I'm thinking, I don't know. She purposely gave us this email, this feedback with all these words, knowing that at this point of the show, there's no way we could possibly do it right.
That's true. It's very hard, though, to send in feedback without using words, Jeff.
Oh, you can send in audio feedback. So.
Oh, that's true.
That way we don't have to
audio feedback next time, please, Eva.
Yes, audio feedback. That way we don't have to read it, which is sometimes a chat. Yeah, okay, Liz, I got you. I'm sorry. Let's see. Liz is back here just doing this. There we go. Ow! This is from Tim Q. Hi, all. And I have not even read this yet. Liz says it's great feedback from Tim Qualls in Arkansas. Thanksgiving is coming up here in the U.S. at least, and I thought I'd take the time this year to actually reach out and say thank you to those in my life who are important to me. And then he lists all these people that we don't know in Arkansas.
No. Who's that first one? She sounds dreadful.
Oh, okay. Wait. No, I'm just kidding. He says, Liz, thank you for all the work that you put into the show behind the scenes. And while we're doing the show as well. I can only imagine the hours you spend to make the show what it is, at least as much as you can, with some of the yahoos you have to deal with and organize.
Yeah, like Steph and Nixie and Rick.
I know.
Because they're not here.
Thankfully, they're not on the show today, so we don't have any of the yahoos with me or with us. Let's see. That's why it's such a blessing that Jeff includes some of your audio in the show to demonstrate your hard work as well. You were already with the show before I started listening, so I don't know how it was before. It was a lot better, actually. but I'm sure you made it much better. No, she's made it much better, actually. I know, honestly, this is a sign. This is Jeff speaking. Liz is amazing and she's incredible. And I'm so happy that I asked her to help me, be my assistant and help out
you're
with the
happy?
organization.
We're delighted.
Well, I know. Otherwise, most everybody would have been gone by now, I'm sure. Like, I'm not going to put up with it.
Yeah, it was
Lack of
becoming a bit of a
organization.
shambles. Yeah.
I know, shambles. Becoming? It was already a bit of a shambles. And Liz felt sorry for me and us, you guys probably mostly, and said, "Oh yeah, I better help out before this whole thing implodes."
There you go. Now, I think I should read the next paragraph, Jeff.
Please do. Okay.
Captain Jeff, I believe I heard you say you started podcasting in 1809. So
no, that's not what it says. 2009.
In 2009. So I'm very new as a listener still, but thank you for taking the first step of beginning a podcast and putting yourself out there. I'm not sure how it was imagined to be, but I'm very thankful for what the community you've created has become. That's good. That made that work. And that I get to be a small part of it. Thank you for always being so respectful to those of us who are just enthusiasts and may never fly for real. And thanks for taking time to meet me last year when I passed through Atlanta. I was headed to a race, but the highlight for me was the meetups I got to do while in Atlanta. Well done, sir.
Oh, thank you very much, Tim. And it's all my pleasure. I mean, that's the best part of doing all of this. And no, I never expected at all that it would turn in, or I didn't imagine what would happen as far as the community and all that kind of stuff. And the community kind of just built itself. I just was the dude with a recorder and a microphone wanting to play, radio.
If it wasn't for your magnetic attraction, Jeff, the community wouldn't have conglomerated the way it is.
Whatever.
You opened the door. We just walked through it. It was brilliant.
Well, I'll never open that door again. Yeah. Okay, time for me to pick it up.
Is he going for another bottle of wine?
Picking up. Oh, you're talking about me continuing with the feedback. Okay. Captain Nick. What to say to the old curmudgeon that can be repeated on the podcast? Well, not a lot.
Nothing.
Actually.
Absolutely nothing.
I think it was you I heard say one time that our Independence Day is y'all's Thanksgiving. So I guess I'm either early or late for yours. Is that true? When's your Thanksgiving? Is it around
we don't
beginning of July?
We don't do this thing. They
don't
call
have
it Traitors' Day, and we certainly don't celebrate it.
Yeah, the British have nothing to be thankful for, apparently. And anyway, here back to Tim. If it wasn't you, it sure sounds like something you'd say. Thank you for sharing your personal flying stories. It's always so fascinating to get to listen to some of the adventures you've had, and I'm sure that there are many more that you could tell. Yes, I'm sure there are. And for photography tips you've provided me along the way, I especially want to thank you for opening up and sharing. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a separate thing. And for photography tips you've provided me along the way. So he's thankful for that. I especially want to thank you for opening up and sharing about your own struggles before when I've written in about mental health issues. You didn't have to do that, but you chose to in order to try to encourage someone else. It helps more than you'll ever know. Even just knowing I'm not alone in the struggles and that people I respect so much also have been through it as well. As an aside, I'm interrupting his feedback. I think one of the most significant things that I've experienced on this show was when we were up in Pittsburgh at that Courtyard Inn in the Courtyard, recording a live show at Wings Over Pittsburgh. And somebody, maybe it was Tim, I don't know who wrote in and had a question about mental health issues. And I didn't know any of this. And Captain Nick started talking about some of what he had gone through. And I'd never heard this before, and I was sitting there thinking, I cannot believe that I'm hearing this right now. This was just completely blew me away, and it was so. It just at that moment, it made me realize the power of this show. So thank you, Captain Nick, for
Absolutely.
doing
And if there are people out there who, who do suffer and they are worried about it, it's an illness like any other illness you can get. And like any other illness, if you take the right attitude to it, you can be cured and you can get back on your life like nothing ever happened. So, just open your heart up to those who've been there before. We'll tell you and help you any way we can, and go to the medical professionals because they are the experts in the field. And, have a positive attitude about your life, and, you will come through the other end. There's no doubt about it. I can promise you. I managed it. If I could do it, anyone can do it.
And it's obvious it's not just an isolated, limited thing, because we've just talked about even earlier in this show about what the FAA is doing about it. It's a major, it's a big thing, and it's so refreshing that the FAA is doing something about it, and it's about time. Anyway, thank you, Nick. I'll never forget that experience. It was amazing. Dr. Steph, thank you for sharing the stories of you skydiving, running, and you've also inspired my desire to visit every state now myself too.
Yeah.
I mean, Steph is like, she's amazing. She's like, if there's some kind of a competition, she's going to be in it and she's going to try to win it. So if it's trying to visit every state before your dad, well, game on.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm hoping y'all do tandem jumps at your school. Yeah, they do. Because someday my goal is to jump out of an airplane you're flying. As odd as that sounds to say. Yeah, make sure you have a parachute on.
Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, if I was in an airplane, Steph was on, I'd just jump out.
I wouldn't
parachute or not, I'd just go, I'm not sticking around to see the end of this.
I'd walk out and go, I see Dr. Steph at the controls, and go, not doing that. Just kidding.
I've got
Steph.
a cold. I'm sorry.
I'm sure she's not listening. Okay.
No, she never listens.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't need to. Okay, so he's talking about Steph still. Your knowledge of safety and the importance of it is amazing to listen to from a GA perspective, and great getting to say hi at AirVenture this year. Yeah, Steph's awesome. Macho Man Nick, also great to say a quick hello from or before the photo at AirVenture. Again, I really appreciate listening to your input from the GA side of things, especially now that you have your AMP as well and can fill in for Captain Rick when he's missing. Let's see. Speaking of Captain Rick, I think you and Liz are the only two I haven't got to meet in person yet. I love it when we get to hear the rickets chirping, because that means you're explaining something plain enough that even us simple-minded ground-based people can understand it. Your knowledge of the systems is just amazing. I agree. We all agree. Rick is amazing. Yep. Captain Dana, of course, I can't leave you out. First, congratulations on moving back to captain. Thank you for taking the time to meet up last year. Sharing a meal with someone is supposed to be one of the most important things, and so that you would take time on a holiday weekend to meet up was very much appreciated. Thank you all for the input you've provided to APG as well. Thank you for all the input you've provided to APG as well. Your frankness and knowledge of the CPI side of things is always helpful. It was a bit long, but hopefully enough flattery will make the show. Yeah, you hit the at least a little bit more than the 50% level of flattery that's required to be feedback on the show, Tim. Anyway, if not, let me know how much to contribute to the coffee fund so I can make the show. Oh, Liz, you didn't tell me that was the last paragraph. I would have started off by asking him to give us more money before we can actually read this feedback. Oh, it's too late now, I guess. I really do appreciate each one of y'all. Each of you choose to take time out of your week to create a show for us to enjoy, and it doesn't go unnoticed how much each of you contribute. There have been times I've thought about stopping listening, since I probably won't ever make pilot. But you all seem like family to me, and I miss hearing your voices in my head while I'm driving. Thank you all so much, and look forward to many, many more. Thank you. Tim, what's that?
I just wanted to say thank you to Tim on air.
Okay, well, stay here.
That's great.
We're at the end of the show anyway, so you just stay with us. Liz, I hope you get a chance to, I'm sure you will, meet Tim Qualls. He's an awesome person. I still remember meeting him in person for the first time when we were at Oshkosh back in 2019. And it was we went to the seaplane area of you remember that, Nick?
Yeah, indeed. Over at
the
lake.
He was with us there. Yeah, at the lake, Lake Winnebago. And and I've met up with Tim a couple of times since then, and he is just a solid dude. And you know what? You say, well, even though I'm not a pilot, I probably won't make pilot, blah, blah. Well, if I've never done a demographic survey of our audience, but I would imagine that a majority of our audience probably are not pilots. And are people like you, Tim, who are just have a significant interest and passion for aviation, and you just like listening to us shoot the breeze and talk about this stuff. And I think that's the most important thing of what we do here, is the fact that we just enjoy trying to entertain you, try to be funny. Sometimes we are good at that. Sometimes
we
not
fall
so much.
flat.
Or sometimes it's like people like me probably having too much troublemaker whine and being funny without actually intending to be funny.
Yes.
But that's okay. I love it. I like people making fun of me. I think that one of the things that we really stress here is that, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be super serious. You can kind of not take yourself very seriously and be anyway. I just think it's something that we enjoy doing. We like being real people, which is what we are, and we like just entertaining our community and trying to educate people. And it's definitely not a podcast that is made for pilots. We know that a large part of our audience is pilots or are, whatever. One of those words. Pilots are a considerable part of our audience for sure, but I think that they are maybe slightly the minority, and most of us, most of you out there listening are non-pilot.
Yeah, a lot of the people I've spoken to come from all sorts of walks of life, other professions, or just enthusiasts, sim pilots, aircraft spotters, or just people who are intrigued and amazed by aviation in the same way that we are, which is why we work so hard to get into the industry.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you to Tim for taking the time to write all that down to us and send it in, because, it really is so wonderful for us to hear from you, and that you appreciate what we all do every week. We love it. We do it because we love it. But I'm glad to know that you do, Tim, and I really look forward to meeting you someday.
Well,
you will, I'm sure, and very well said. And not only do we love what we do, but we love you all, and we hope that comes across. I think it does, and so wow.
So it's that time. We're going to wrap things up.
Thank you, Tim. All right, wrap it up. All right, so
wrap it up.
Let's talk about the website, airlinepilotguy.com. It's a place where you can find all kinds of information about the crew and the community and the calendar and merchandise and the library and more information about plane tales and a lot more. You can even go to the speed pipe if you'd like. And
get your speed there.
Well, that's what we're going to call it from now on. Paul, you might have something there, speed pipe. And we're also on social media, and Captain Nick is going to eloquently explain to you all about
I'm not.
social media.
Okay, now if you're interested in Meta-owned Facey-bookie, then the ye olde Facey-bookie, then do a search in the search bar for Airline Pilot Guy, all one word. And
is that your American accent right there?
No, it's Canadian. And if you're an ex-twatterer, I mean, X is now Twitter, then it's at APG Crew. And if you're a follower on Instagram, we don't post a lot. I stick all the artwork up there out of interest, but that's on Instagram. Instagram, it's just APG Crew.
And where's that Hillel? Where is he?
He's been very quiet up to now,
I'm sorry. I'm still so taken by how well that went. That whole social media thing. Thank you very much for that. I mean, Steph's probably shaking in her boots. Yeah, she's thinking, I've lost my job doing this social media thing. All right. I
think not.
By the way, never mind.
No.
Let's see.
Go on. What were you going to say? Oh my God! Sounds like you've got a leak in the bathroom.
I was going to say, I want to apologize for the fact that I'm not a big social media person. I do it because we're out there as a podcast, and social media is something that we're supposed to use. Me personally, I'm not there as much as I should be, and I apologize for that. I should be out there more, but I guess I'm too old or something. I don't know. I'm just not hip anymore. Anyway, so let's see if
you can get new hips.
I don't want to get new hips. I like mine, the ones that I have. Hello, Slack.
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
How are your hips? All right. He's going to come over here and tell us all about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks, Hillel. Appreciate it.
Come back, Jeff. You missed a spot.
Ow. Is that?
Did you flicked him with the towel?
He's trying to flick me with that darn towel. Ow. Get away from me with that. Ow! That's it. We're going to find somebody else to do the Slack thing. Okay. What else do we want to say? Oh, we want to thank Liz, of course, for as Tim just mentioned, and so many have in the past. I mean, honestly, I know you probably think, oh, you're just doing that because you're afraid of Liz and her whip.
We are
which
a
is
bit, yes.
That is actually part of it.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's more than that. Liz is more to me than you guys know. She is like my personal assistant. She's like my big sister. She's with me all the time when I'm doing these road trips and everything else. She's out there keeping track of me and making sure I stay out of trouble. And then, of course, when I try to relay all my information about what I did on my road trip and I get it completely wrong, she's there to help try to straighten me out. And
just
damn
a little
she's
bossy.
Damn it, she's always right. That's the thing that really kind of irks me. But
not
that's
always
why we
at
love
all.
her.
Anyway,
Yeah, most
you're
of it.
welcome, guys. My
Say
pleasure.
most-
You know it's
most of
my
the time.
pleasure.
But-
You're
No,
well
thank you.
more
Well,
than
I mean-
50%.
Oh, she's like close to 100%, and 100%. So she really, no, Liz, you really mean so much to me. Thank you for everything you do, and I'm not just saying that for the show.
Back at you, Jeff. Back at you, Nick.
Thank you,
Cheers.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. All right. So with that, we're going to sign off, and we're not going to
thank
put
the
you
Lord
through any
for
more
that.
misery. I know, like, thank you. Yeah, it's over. Sorry. Sorry it took so long for us to get to this point. And we hope that you're back with us next week, and wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, talons, Douglas.
Bye, everybody.
See you next time.
I hope not.
You hope not. Oh my
I'm
God.
taking a week off.
Whoa.
We probably should, just to kind of let everybody recover from this.
Oh, yeah, indeed. No, I'll be there. Don't worry.
Jeff, turn off your
I
recorder
hope
now.
so. Yes,
Turn
ma'am.
off your recorder.
Cool. Cool.
Okay.
Now,
Thanks, everybody. We're only about 25 minutes over the 3-hour mark. So
Oh, no, really?
Well, yeah.
Oh, well.
You got some editing to do, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'll edit out some of the
wow.
stupid stuff that I said.
Now, I'm really
Which is most
struggling with some
everything.
titles this week. Anybody
Well,
in
I've
the...
got a rambling road trip.
Yeah, I've got Jeff the Rambling Man. The Rambling Man.
Well, that means if you do that, then I'm not going to be able to take out all that bad rambling that I was doing.
We could use diction in.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure how.
What about F and G? I don't know how you keep...
F and G. I love that.
What was F and G again?
Bye, Eva.
I was saying...
thanks for your feedback.
Bye, Eva. Thanks again.
So
cheers,
when
Eva.
she said, she was saying, let's do F and G, like
yes, of
feedback
course.
F and feedback G.
Yeah.
But when she said F and G, it sounded like F and hell. It's like, what's wrong with you? Are you effing crazy?
Actually, KFC has a good one. Planes are easy, words are hard.
Good one. Very good.
That's not
I like
funny
that.
at all. That's
It
I,
is.
No,
I love it.
I say I veto that one.
I also had giving thanks to the community. So that's sort of my nice
I like
title.
that. I like that because we're coming up on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving here in the U.S.
Well, not here. We've gone.
You already had it, I know.
Yeah.
What? Like
Could I just call it giving thanks and then do
giving
a picture
thanks.
of the
I think
community?
giving thanks would be great. I think that would be great.
So wait, what exactly
that's
is
first
Thanksgiving,
favorite.
though?
That's
Do we want to
favorite,
save
I
that for
think.
next weekend, and then maybe get some other people to give thanks?
Well, we've talked about it this week, so it might not happen. It might not come up in conversation next week.
Tim brought it up, and I think that's kind of anyway.
Let's do Tim's feedback again. I loved it.
We're going to get it tattooed on each of our arms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea, you guys.
That's good.
Not the tattoo, but the other thing you said.
Okay,
So
everybody.
I could do a big turkey pooping on a pile of people looking up, waving at it. What was the turkey they threw out of a helicopter?
Oh, that was on WKRP in Cincinnati.
WKRP in Cincinnati. And they didn't. And the turkey wasn't pooping on. They threw the turkeys out the
frozen
out of the
turkeys.
helicopter.
Yeah.
Were they?
All their feathers came off. I thought they were live
I think
turkeys.
they were
Were they
live
not?
turkeys,
Oh,
but
okay.
they
I
just
thought they
couldn't
were
fly.
frozen.
They thought that they could fly,
WKRP.
but they were live turkeys that they threw out of the helicopter.
Helicopter.
The
yeah,
elevator
okay.
is something entirely different that I just made up.
It's the elevator to
but-
hell.
Yeah, elevator. I don't want to take that.
That would be quite good, throwing turkeys out.
Les
into
Nessman.
down-
That's exactly right. Les Nessman.
Giving
Les
thanks.
Nessman. Yeah,
Very
that-
good.
That was one. I think that was probably one of the best episodes of WKRP in Cincinnati.
And that slimy guy who was the sales manager. What was his name? Remember the guy with the black, dark hair? And he was always sliming around. Anyway, everybody, thanks so much for being here with us.
Yeah, brilliant, great crowd in the
Well, they don't want.
chat room
They don't
tonight.
want to. They don't want to leave. They want to hang out with us.
Okay,
Well,
bye.
Too late now.
I've had enough of you two.
Okay. All right. See you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. We
Bye,
love
folks.
you.
See you next week.
We really do. We love you.